What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 1. We've got the Cozy cast here, and it's all about Ignite to kick things off. I'm Cozy, you guys know, and I'm joined by IRunShibb. For people that don't know you, buddy, why don't you introduce yourself?
What's going on, everybody? My name is IRunShibb. Everyone just calls me Shibb. I was lucky enough to turn content creation, streaming full-time about 3 years ago. I went to school for engineering and hated that, so made that switch, and it's been an uphill, amazing journey ever since. And now I found myself working with you, man, so things have been crazy. I'm loving it.
For sure, man. This guy is one of the goats of casting. I mean, just the voice, the iconicness. He's going to be just tied to Rivals forever. I can feel it. I know it. And over the course of this cast, which is going to be video podcast, but also you guys can listen to it as well. Different guests coming in. We have player interviews. We've got other casters and some surprise guests as the season goes on. So this will be more than Ignite, but to start, I think Ignite has so much going on with it. And I wanted like one spot to have it all and power rankings off air a bit. You know, like, you know, when we're on air, it's a bit more tight as far as everything from, you know, the schedule from game to game. And here we can kind of just like slow it down a bit and break down, you know, the actions, the teams, and our opinions.
Yeah, and that's key, right? Is getting into actual thoughts. I mean, like you're saying, it's difficult to really give personal opinions on air because at the end of the day, we're not biased, but it also, you don't want to come off that way. Or even if you're not, you know, if you have a selective opinion, you say something you maybe could trigger enemy or other teams, it's a big problem. So I get it.
For sure, man. Okay, dude, so we're going to go and we're going to start out, guys, at a top level, looking at a match overview. We'll pull up some of the subjects here. We got here in the middle, ignore Terra's insane stats. We'll get to that here in a moment. But we're going to be talking about the week 1 recap and look at the matches, brief overview. If you guys missed the action, you can always go back to Twitch, but we're going to kind of give our takes of what we saw in those games. And then we've got an awesome segment of power ranking. This is going to be cool to do each week as we kind of have these opinions of these teams and what we're seeing out there, ranking them from top to bottom. Players of the week, obviously, I think we got to highlight. I think I'm probably most excited for that segment, Shibb, just because you've got, you know, some people just really standing out. And when you have a great team, sometimes, you know, you want to highlight all those players, but there's a couple players in these teams that aren't, you know, the top 3 teams, but they're insane in terms of like individual play.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the time, even you just exclude things like strategists from my mind, but then you go back and look at these stats and I'm like, why did I not make that call out? Why did I not show them some love? So we definitely got to dive into some of the stars here for sure.
For sure. And we got player interviews coming, guys. Aramori and a lot. I think, hey, we got to hear from them themselves and their strategies, what they saw. Obviously, you know, some of it's going to be probably a bit closed-lipped. They don't want to give away everything, but it's going to be cool to be able to at least have some retrospective into what they did and what they're looking to do as they move forward. Whether they won or lost, we're going to probably focus on more people that are advancing, but some really great teams and ones we'll talk about in a moment. Unfortunate bracket draws, man, and we had some action early. And then, hey, I think this has been really cool. I don't know about you, bro, and we'll break it down more when we get to the subject, but hero and meta breakdown, we're definitely seeing some stuff we don't see out there on the ladder within Ignite.
Yeah, see, and this is something I saw a lot in even just the comments on these videos after the fact is, wow, there are actually different team comps that these teams are running, and they're finding value with 1,000 different things, whether it's Punisher, Jeff NATO, whether they're going, we even saw some 2.0 comps with Iron Fist being out there, although that one was a little dicey. We've seen Venom back in dive comps. It just seems like it goes for days and what they can, you know, find value with.
Yeah, for sure. There's 2 heroes in particular that I thought we would see. I did not know at what level we would see them at, and it definitely started to be a pattern as we kind of move through the week, man. I tell you what, and then week 2 preview, guys, we got everything coming out. This is going to come out Wednesdays when you guys are watching this, but typically this probably come out Tuesdays as we kind of set schedules. It's Thursday for kicking off most of each week as we head into the playoffs, and so we want this to be a nice little wrap-up show where you guys can have on background when you're working, ignoring your responsibilities and whatnot. So let's go to dude, let's dive into it first. Before we get into like the nitty gritty, man, like week 1 overview, man, what were your like basic takeaways and thoughts?
Yeah, see, I like that. So honestly, what I'll say is, in something we already touched on, I liked how teams were, I mean, first off, the banning, I have to say that the new banning system, I think is incredible. I think it actually forces new compositions and it's like a whole nother level of understanding of the game. It gets coaches involved more. Can't express how much I like that enough. I know it's a little controversial with the players. So I'm actually curious in the interviews what they say about that. We're going to have to bring that up to them. And how the map selection is, we can dive through all that together. Love all that, but it was just surprised by how some of these teams that I have never had eyes on before showed up in the moment and how only very few teams and teams that I would have expected, like 100 Thieves and Sentinels, were the only teams that had no maps lost. Like there was comebacks or like, you know, teams were finding maps that I would have never expected against some of these the big names. So it was just it was a unique and definitely more competitive environment than I thought.
Yeah, dude, I agree. I think, listen, one of the cool things about Rivals of the MRC is that you can, like, you know, earn your spot into that. And again, I mean, without spoiling it, I mean, FlyQuest, right? They dropped the map right away, and it's like, that's what esports, that's what makes it so great, dude. And just Rivals, like, we've all had those games, and, you know, sometimes, like, you just don't play at your best, man. And that's where it's like, you know, that's why I'm such a big fan of like the NFL, because it's any given Sunday, right? Like the worst team can beat the best team. And like, I do feel like in esports, you have a lot of that going on. Obviously, you've got like, you know, a different tier. And when we get to the power rankings, we'll break that down a bit more. But I agree, dude. I thought the ban system was awesome. We can break that down more in a moment. The map selection pool seems solid as well. Nothing, you know, nothing jumping out of there in the way that they alternated. How'd you feel about, if you don't know, they do map 1, guys, was always domination. Map 2 was either convoy or convergence. Map 3 was the other. How'd you feel about that? I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, see, for me, it worked, but I was thinking about this just after casting in general. It's like, I wonder if certain teams just, they don't favor Dom, if that messes them up. Like, right, to me, I've been curious about, like, you know, I'm sure there are teams when it comes to my stat line, right? Like I actually, if I look at my own statistics, I win more frequently on domination than I do on any other mode. So for me, it favors my style of play, but I know certain teams here are going to pop off on convergence or convoy and they're going to be annoyed with this breakdown. So I am curious about that, but outside of it, I like the breakdown. I think it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're correct, because we saw like Solaris, for example, like they were great at Dom, and then they fizzled out like after that, and it definitely showed like throughout the week of what we saw, you know. And I think Dom is a bit more, I'm not saying anybody's game can grab it, but it's way more, you have a better chance for the lower seeds to punch up in Dom, because, you know, you never know. It's one team fight, you know, to really capture the first point. And then if you guys don't listen to the cast, that first point is so important, because you have like ultimate rollouts from there, and it's outside of like Nemesis Shroud X, which was a bonkers of a game, but really it's, you know, there was the first team to grab is gonna be the first team to take a lot of the time the map. So I like that it has that element, but then if you have like that go wrong, and then in FlyQuest case another game go wrong, you all of a sudden you're done, you lose, you know.
Yeah.
So pretty tough.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You're right. It is that first team fight you set up, and then you can play ultimates out there. So I understand that for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also thought it was a little strange. Like you coin flip the choice on bans in that, which is a little strange to me, right? Isn't that? I got to double check how that worked out. I believe it was either coin flip for the map, and then the higher seed picks the side or something like that, I believe. Yeah. Okay.
Which side matters a lot, considering how the pick and bans work.
Yeah, true. And I'm curious about me and you've had a discussion that we think red side's more favored. We believe that it seems like the 3 bans in a row, but I'm not even sure if that's the correct stat after going through all this, if maybe blue side ended up working out more.
We saw teams elect blue side. And okay, I'll throw it up here on screen, guys. What you guys are looking at, this is the new ban screen in full screen here. And again, the first 2 picks are at the same time, right? And typically, Shibb and I can both say this was the Emma spot for the most part. Like, yeah, teams mix it up, but this was mainly Emma. And then you would have one team get their first save. You had 2 blocks after that. The 4th pick on both teams were simultaneous yet again as a block. And then the bottom team is going to have 3 blocks in a row, and the top team alternating. And so we would see, to me at least, and if you guys don't, this is an important note that people got confused by. The bans in the saves are for the team, right? So it's not on ladder. So the team on the bottom, everything you see, that's bans going towards the other team. If you see a Luna ban, they can still play Luna unless the top team bans it too. And so that was creating way different team comps. So I thought the team comps are friggin' awesome. Like, it was so different.
No, that's a great call out. I don't know why I didn't even bring that up. Yeah, no, you're right. That shook up everything, and that's why we saw the different comps, like you're saying. It really, and dude, there were strategies like banning out all the strategists, right? And forcing them onto something like Guardians. Like, that stuff blew my mind. I loved seeing that, dude.
Yeah, dude. We saw typically first half was Vanguard protection and save, and then the later half was strategists, and then you would have maybe one duelist in there banned or saved if there was like a strong roll. But me and Shibb talked about this earlier. There's so many good duelists at this point, and these players are good at multiple of them, that it's almost wasting a ban to go duelist because they're just going to go to the other unless they're true. And we can't even say the word one trick at this level of play because they're all good. But like obviously like Gale is a very good Punisher, or Self was a great Black Panther. Obviously we didn't see the ban there, but like sometimes you get the respect for that character.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm 100% agreeing with you. It was Emma first or Mag, and then if they didn't get the ban off again, it was an immediate lock of one of those two for the most part. Absolutely. But then in terms of duelists, like you're saying, who they banned out, we occasionally saw Punisher banned, but outside of that, like for duelists, there wasn't much. Torch, maybe a couple times. I can go back through the stats and give us exact numbers as I was pulling those up before. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing here for locks, Wolverine was locked in a lot. Bans, you had a few times Psylocke, Human Torch. I've got a lot more here. Let me keep going, honestly, because it's worth us glancing at this.
Yep.
Hela was once banned one time.
Which was shocking to me.
Domination.
Like,
yeah, which is crazy.
Would you say one takeaway I have, you know what, we could get that when we get to hero meta, but I would say I thought it was going to be a bit more Hela driven, a bit more, just because the dominance of that character and the flame crowds. We saw some teams stick to it. Some, though, like Cal, for instance, on Envy, Cal was like, I don't want to be known as the one-trick Hela. Like, I, on purpose, didn't want to play her.
I was just going to say that. It's funny because he even said to me in the interview, he was like, I just don't, or was it me or you? I can't even remember who interviewed. We both interviewed
him. I think it was you. The Hela. It was the Hela.
Okay. You had an interview with him as well. I watched it and I was just like, couldn't remember who asked the question. At this point, it's all melding. But he was just like, yeah, no, I think Hela's better. I would just rather play Punisher. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, interesting.
Yeah. I liked it, though.
He just, like you're saying, just wants to have a more diverse hero pool. And I think, Punisher just has more to his kit that could maybe be more fun.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, going to the bracket real quick, though. Let's pop it up here. We have two different groups of brackets. You have Group A, Group B. We're going to go through Group A, and then we'll go to B. We'll touch on it on high level and then kind of go into them a bit more here in depth. But yeah, first of all, guys, we have at the top there, 100 Thieves versus Luminosity. Kind of casted this one, Shibb, and Luminosity was a team that, they knew they played well together, but it was more about how they do, or separately, but how do they do together? Listen, bro, first draw, getting one of the best teams of the tournament. You just want to go out there and not get, rolled over. And unfortunately, 100 Thieves, who has shown every now and then you get a shaky player, whatnot, but they steamed it. They just completely lights out. That one really, again, we'll get into it more, but that one was firmly them. Shikigami and No Job, Jobless Bums. Now, Jobless was like one of the, I would say, new fan favorites. People just like their honesty. I thought the interviewer was awesome. I think he did, Oltens did an awesome job there on the mic. And they felt confident going out, and they firmly, honestly, they did so good against Shikigami. I thought Shikigami was going to be 2 out. And I owe that apology to them because they really showcased well. But that speaks more to No Job than it, does against Shikigami. Shibb, I know you did the other two, man. Envy and Solaris Fly. These two right here, these two games, Group A is probably the best of the tournament. Like, my gosh.
Yeah, you kind of touched on that. I mean, Group A was, it's been said 1,000 times. Group A was the group of death. It was very difficult for a low seeding team, maybe a team that, a little more nervous, didn't quite have the practice or the scrimming up to the level that these guys can scrim now. I mean, a lot of them top teams are scrimming at an insanely high level, right? So some of these newer teams won't have access to that, or at least, they need time, right? And so going into this kind of bracket was terrifying. And this is one that kind of blew my mind. Envy, obviously a favorite potentially to win this, or at least be in the very top of the rankings. They got taken out by the Stream team, at least not taken out by one map, which blew my mind because they looked so good. One of the things I brought up about Solaris is, since they are just content creators having more of a good time, you and I have actually discussed this, it kind of gives them that mental clarity, and there's no stress. There's no real stress because it's not everything on the line for them. So they were able to kind of just make plays happen and just have a good time out there. And they got a map on Envy. And honestly, I believed for a minute there that they might actually take home the W. So that was a awesome match to watch.
Yeah, I thought Solaris, so that was the first that I watched I play a POV because I wasn't casting. So I went to Gale's stream and just like, first of all, they're pretty calm. Like I want to just say hats off to that team for a couple of things, but really, I love that they shared their audio. It's so cool to hear comms, like extremely cool. And some teams do it differently than others. I thought that team, though, they played insanely well. There was only a couple, sometimes it only comes down to a couple team fights, but it really, at the end of the day, it was one or two things happening that they just could not connect in. Domination, yeah, obviously, that's what they were locked in. That's what they had well. And, dude, that's what we were talking about earlier, guys. They opened up with, it was like every hardcore healing strategist was banned, right?
Yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah, they've been doing stuff like that and doing the initial plays, like they're doing those teleport plays. We see it later on in the tournament, and I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point. But they start off with the strange portal, and they try to have penny mines ready, and they kidnap somebody with a portal, falling into the mines instantaneously and finding an early pick. That is just crazy. It's such a crazy strategy, and that's just something you'd only do if you were a stream team making content and coming up with weird ideas. So.
Dude, when that happened, I couldn't believe it. The portal into the penny was like top tier. And we had Schmungus for EMEA, which, by the way, guys, right now we're capturing the America on this side as this pod. Again, as the cozy guest here, as we do the Ignite series, I'm going to be having, I've talked to Leg Day. We're going to have him on. We're going to look at some of those other countries more top down, and especially when we're in playoffs and further.
Sure.
Right now, we're the America caster, so that's what we're gonna focus on. But yeah, crazy like Schmungus did. An insane strat to just having fun and kind of Gale said this, and I think it was Boger that said it too, is like they don't need this money, you know what I mean? Like I mean, certainly everybody wants it, but like they were able to play way more loose because this was like fun to them. Like this was just a good time, and we saw that kind of in the gameplay.
Yeah, and I think like we said, it's kind of like a buff. The team just plays better together. I'm curious because I know you watched over there. Was Gale leading comms, or how did that work? Was it more open? Yeah,
it was open, but he definitely was the kind of the centerpiece around it. Need healing now, because a lot of their gameplay was like around how cracky he is at hit scan. If you guys don't know, Gale is like one of the gods of hit scan. In the space, and he I believe wasn't able to play Punisher the first round. Second round he did though, and he went off like we saw. I think it was Hawkeye he had to play first round, and it showcased as he went on. And Punisher getting those buffs, dude. Like you give that to Gale, it's like my god. And then to close out, we'll go into more detail on some of these. But FlyQuest and Ego Death, give me a quick fly overview, no pun intended on that one.
Yeah, so, I mean, this was one of those games that shocked everyone. I'll do it nice and quickly. Ego Death blew my mind. They're a dive team. They play ready comms, which is one of the interviewees actually mentioned this. This is a crazy style where it's just, you don't have much to say besides, are you ready? Go. And they would just fully commit onto the back line every time. And they were running Self on the Panther, who was dominating and taking everyone out. It just in milliseconds, no time to react. So they popped off. And the thing is, they really just took Fly by surprise. Like Fly just had no practice into a comp that dedicated to dive, and it showed. And they got kind of waxed, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was definitely as we progress, into the upper bracket. I mean, I think Fly was the true, obviously upset. You're always gonna have like one upset at the tournament. Not only did we hear them say it, but a lot of teams said it as well. Like, I'm a big fan. Let me finish off lower bracket again. It was LG Shikigami. They moved forward there with Shikigami, and then Solaris and Fly. And you can see Fly moved on. There's spoilers, but we'll talk about him. Fly is one of those teams that I like a lot. We've casted them a lot. We've seen them a lot. I think they evolved their roster a ton over time. They lost Gasklin. They brought on a new Vanguard player. However, they typically play unconventional, and sometimes that works. Sometimes that surprises. Again, to bring it to sports, dude, that happens sometimes too. You get these like trick plays, and it's like, oh man, it's an instant touchdown. And other times it's like stick to the basics, and that's how you're gonna win. And people were shouting that out. They were like, they're trying too much fancy stuff.
Yeah, and we mentioned, I talked early on in the podcast, I mentioned them trying to run that 2.0. They had Fist out there, and although you still got to see where his strengths were, and Fist is still very much a nuisance, it just wasn't enough. Light did a good job still finding value, getting some final hits, but it was not winning any team fight for him. It looked like they were running what we'd expect prior to these changes, and now things are very different, just very different. So it looked a little sloppy, but we do mention, and we say it all the time, Fly not afraid to pull out the more unique stuff. But they've had it, and it happened against them too. A little more of a unique pick, so they kind of got it. It can work. I just don't think it's as consistent.
For sure. Now to wrap up Group A, guys, when moving forward, 100 Thieves ended up playing Jobless Bombs, taking them down 2-0. Jobless just never really got a good footing. Domination, first map they got rolled, but then the second game they were starting to get it, but we saw this kind of happen in the tournament, man. Too little, too late, right? Like whenever if you lose that first one, again, you only have one game to get things straight, and it's a different mode, different map, different comps, different bands you have to adjust to. And then that went into Envy versus Ego Death, which in my opinion, dude, was going to be like the game of the tournament. Not the tournament, but at least this first bit. Like I was hyped up all day about it, and it unfortunately, bro, it looked like Big Brother, Little Brother. Envy knew exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, I was heartbroken. I'm going to be honest. I mean, that was a game that I was looking forward to like crazy. And this was that interview I had with Cal where he kind of said to me, we saw what they were going to run and we just made sure that that couldn't happen anymore. And they were not able to make any sort of dive play. It looked very rough out there. I mean, Ego couldn't find luck with anything. The duelists were really struggling. I think in the first match, it like Self was 11-7, nothing crazy. But then you look over and you got 24-3 from Speedery. It was just very much a different game. 17-3 from Cal. They were just disgusting. It goes to show you, it brought back the idea that Envy just knows what they're doing, and Ego is very much still a new team.
100%. And we're going to break down these teams a bit more. We want to dive into, I think, we've got the bigger rounds now as we go into week 2. We'll probably break down the actual matches in the small details. I think that made the difference there, Shibb. But here, week 1, kind of more, I guess, overview. But this is our final bracket for Group A. And you might notice something there, and it was 100 Thieves and Envy going against each other. That's what we were talking about, the heavyweight bracket. Crazy to think that if one of these two teams lost, which obviously 100 Thieves Envy, one of them have to lose. And then if they just get unfortunate and they lose in the lower, dude, they're out of the playoffs unless I believe we've been talking about this. I think they can earn their way back in through the MRC.
Yeah, see, that's something I'm with you. I watched that video for Ignite, and obviously in the audience, feel free to type a comment if you know something we don't, which is funny to say that as we are the people now hosting this thing. But it's just, it's going to be, I believe, similar story. Top 4 maybe can come back in if they're not already in, I would assume. It's what it looks like to me. So, and that's what they actually did, top 8, I believe, in the past, or even depending on the tournament, what they invited them to for the MRI, et cetera. But I mean, we'll see. I think they can bounce back, but I don't think these teams are going to go anywhere just based on their history.
Well, I want to get into the nitty gritty about jumping into some of these teams deeper, but I'll quickly throw up Group B of the tournament, what we saw there. And again, guys, here it is right now. We had Sentinels versus Alani Wind. Sentinels advancing to that. Nightmare versus Citadel Gaming. Nightmare, brand new roster, and definitely another team that I was questioning a bit in the lower bracket as they played, but you can see that there on the bottom in a second. Both those games, I think Citadel really showcased as that new up and coming team. People were excited about formula. They were Boom Crew before. They did well, and they performed. But again, unfortunately, ran against a good team up top. Down there, though, Dark Zero Nemesis, I think this game surprised me a lot. And in fact, without going into too much of what the power ranking is going to be, I think Dark Zero's lack of performance surprised me a ton.
Yeah, I was a little bummed about that as well. I know those players, really strong players, man, they just could not figure it out. I know they did a little bit of a roster switch prior to the tournament, and I think I don't know if that's a reason it hurt them, but I'm sure it's a lot, man. It's a lot to go into it. I just expected a little bit more. So I'm definitely bummed to see them just kind of get waxed like that.
And then, I'm curious about Shroud and Techie, because the way Shroud played made me think Techie, what do they got? What are we going to see from them later in the tournament? And then obviously we saw some good. What happened there to really show? Why did Techie struggle there against Shroud X?
Yeah, see, I was curious too, because it made me think Techie XD was more of a meme team, and I'm not just saying that to be like rude. Honestly, once I had a conversation with them, it kind of changed my opinion completely. But Techie, like, because I mean, all their bios were like, we're just fans of Techie, and they didn't say anything else. You know what I mean? So I just like, oh man, they just made it in because they're just good players. But they ended up, but yeah, they said they just really just struggled in that first match. I think it was a modicum of just being really nervous and being on the stage for the first time. But then they looked insane from then on out as you go towards the lower bracket. I mean, they completely changed the tide and looked like a very strong team.
That's what I'm saying. So Lonnie Wind, they played really good against Sentinels, map 2, and I was like, okay, they're going to go crazy in the lower bracket. Nightmare, who didn't play well, ended up dominating them, right? Like doing it because you did lower bracket Sunday. Speak to those two matchups quick.
Yeah, so like you're saying, I watched the Alani Win game against Sentinels, and they took one of those maps all the way to 99, and I was like, dang, they've got what it takes. You know, they can get this done. But yeah, I mean, Nightmare, honestly, Nightmare looked like a little bit of a different team too. It looks like they figured it out together, and it's had a similar story to Techie, where they just said that first game didn't feel like themselves at all, which we know can definitely happen once you're on the big stage in front of the lights and stuff. But Yeah, they shot. I mean, Alani just kind of just could not find anything, man. They just did not look good across the board. And Nightmare came in and swept them. But I know they could bounce back. It's just more so. I think it's just going to take some time. But then when it comes to Dark Zero and Techie, similar story with Dark Zero's the last time, man. It just didn't look great. You know, I love the duelists there. They're really strong players, but they just got outclassed. They were getting apps. I mean, Techie's duelist line looked disgusting. They had a torch out there that was just insane. Tap obviously on the Psylocke. And these guys are the European squad. They're playing, you know, they're coming over and taking over NA like it's nothing. They just looked really good. So I do have more faith in Techie being a more serious contender. And I think the next game against Citadel is going to be insane.
Yeah, so Sentinels advancing up at the top there versus Citadel Gaming, who did, you know, send them down to the bottom 2-0'd. Really, Sentinels just looked super strong. They just looked like they didn't budge at all. Citadel Gaming, I thought it was going to be a bit closer of a match. In fact, I think we all did. It ended up just not going their way. Nemesis versus Shroud X. Buddy, I think that might have been my game of... If we were going to award a game of week one, I think round one of Solaris versus Envy might be like my map. But as far as like a match, I think it was Shroud X to Nemesis was probably my takeaway. I would love to hear if you had a different opinion.
In terms of my favorite match, I would probably say it had to be the dive play by Ego, just because of how shocking it was. Yeah, it was just so fun. Like I mean, and that's at this point it feels like a overhyped answer, and everyone's saying that. And the amount of Panthers I've seen in the ladder just today has blown my mind. But it just and we've seen some of these pros now trying to run Panther. I don't know if you witnessed some of that. Super Gomez is running Panther all the way through now, and a bunch of other even I believe 100 Thieves I think has both their duelists trying out Panther at the moment. So
yeah, map
definitely on the table.
Map one, yeah. So to talk like 100 Thieves, you know, as we about to go into the power rankings, but with that upper kind of bracket run that they had, you had Terra, who is phenomenal, but he went to Black Panther for a little bit. They tried out Flyers for a little bit. Every team, Shibb, and you saw this, has like one guy that's like a main flyer. And some teams had flex here, but most had a flyer, and then the other had the hit scan. Like that was mainly what we saw with some, or I would say maybe a flex pool and then hit scan. It's kind of like the two subgroups of duelist. Obviously, it was different, you know, depending on ego death or whatever there. But yeah, you know, a little bit of, I think one of the recaps you could look at, looking at the bracket there, was there wasn't that many. If there was a pick'em site, I think people would have done pretty well. There wasn't that many upsets. There wasn't too much as far as team play that like really shook us outside of, you know, obviously what you said, but there you go.
Yeah, and that's going to get tighter and tighter as we go forward, right? Because right now it was the largest seeding gaps for the most part that they could have off the rip here. And even as we got into those lower bracket games, you know, it was so consistent that it was 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and then 2-1 on the series. We kept having that happen. But I felt like even as we got into Saturday, Sunday, those 2-0s were no longer just smacks. They were tight 2-0s. So it made it look a little better. So games got definitely better. But I'm with you. I mean, it was a little bit of a, you know, you expect it and it got the job done, except for maybe that Citadel, that initial take that you're talking about on that domination when they were, or at least the one I'm referencing, another really exciting one was, not Citadel, excuse me, Solaris, when they were running the Adam Warlock from Gale was disgusting. Dude,
so
that was
good.
Insane.
They were not ready for that too. I think we even said that we were not expecting Adam. Like we were like, oh wow, that's crazy. To me, Shroud X, Nemesis, it was getting late East Coast time. Shibb wasn't casting. So did you watch that game? Did you get to see that one?
I believe I did, but at this point, I'd have to go back and check the stats just to make sure.
It was when I called the game at the tournament. We had Shroud X domination 99%. Nemesis portals in last second, takes it over. Shroud X ends up winning map 1 of domination. Okay. By the way, Nemesis got to 99%. So they capped it 99, Shroud 1.
I watched this the next morning. Keep going though.
Yeah. Then Nemesis, it was the same thing through the entire rest of domination. It was 99 to 99%. And teams were like portaling in. Fights were 10 minutes long. Like, dude, it was insanity with res comps and chaos the whole time. Like, Nemesis had a res comp, Shroud didn't because they had an Atom ban. So like Shroud's like out gaming because they're killing. You know, they're eliminating. We could say a kill, I guess here. They were eliminating. The teams twice. Whereas Shroud X, they had to really step it up. Nemesis though, they come away with a loss on domination. You're like, okay. this is it. Like like a bummer. It was so close, razor thin. You thought they were gonna get it, dude. And then Nim, they win back-to-back maps, but not. This is one, dude. You look at the scoreboard and it's like, oh, okay, it was a 2-1. Dude, the tightest 2-1 I've ever seen. Like it was up to the seconds.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, I saw that the next morning. That was you're right. That's got to be one of the tightest, if not the best matches to watch. In the end of the day, like that was the closest, I think, out of the entire tournament so far in terms of how the game could have gone. I mean, there's arguments for some other changes and stuff we witnessed at the end of even on Sunday, but I would say that was the most tight two teams that have similar skill levels that do things a little differently, but were able to get close enough to each other. But so they took back two maps. What was the final map for Nemesis?
Clintar, Nemesis destroyed on Clintar. Like you could just tell that was their map. Like they ate there. And then they played the last map was Araco. Yeah, and that was our only. Did you have an Araco game? That was my one and only.
I had one Araco game, I believe, and there was torches on both sides, but I got to go back and see the game. I just remember that it was a torch with a pocket with invis and one without, and the invis pocket dominated. Yeah,
so that was kind of what happened here. But this game on Araco, Shroud X does a 0.2 hold, legendary. It was like, wow. I mean, Araco, you can push through kind of strong. I was like, this is it.
Sure.
And then Nemesis pulls off a 0.1 hold that was insane. Like they got rolled. Okay, Nemesis gets rolled. There's like 0.9 on the meters left. Nemesis does exactly what they did on the Dom. They telly in. One guy just like busts through there. They win the team fight, and then they win the next minute and a half, and it's game over. It's insane. Like
insane. Dude. What I find is that people during those last minute portal plays, and this is something that happens in ladder too, is when you're the team that is rolling the enemy team and they make the portal play, everyone overcommits ults. Like everyone presses Q because they're like, all right, let's just finish him off. And then if the team that's taking the touch with the portal has some sort of patience and holds on to something, then you have the advantage in every subsequent fight. And it just turns the tides completely. And that just happened to me today. So, I mean, I know that pain. It sucks.
It's rough, dude. It's why Doctor Strange will always remain part of, like, in meta builds because of just having that part of his kit, man. Now, we're going to go into more specifics on these teams. And more importantly, we're going to rank them a little bit. We're going to be bringing in VikkiKitty for the power rankings with me and Shibb. All right, guys, I want everybody to welcome in the one, the only, as I said on air, the always electric VikkiKitty from Super Smash, from Apex, now Marvel Rivals. Vikki, we're pumped. We're pumped to have you here. I'm so pumped to have you on the pod, the cozy cast here. For those that don't know, I guess I gave it already to them who you are, but who are you?
Well, I'm a caster. I love talking about video games, honestly. I just scream my head over some of my favorite plays, over my favorite games, and talking about these player stories in a very nice way, because essentially the way I view what we do, which I think is beautiful, by the way, we're the storytellers. We're the bridge between these players and the rest of the audience. And I've been doing it for like now this year, crazy enough. I feel like it's passed in a blink of an eye. It's going to be 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
I've been casting now. Yeah, my roots do start in Smash Brothers. Still going strong over there too. I honestly just love video games. Like I always talk over games that I just have hands-on experience with. And now being able to highlight these top level players, this is just a level that I know takes a lot of time and dedication. So being able to talk about them and what the work that they put into these type of games, that's what I like to do.
100%. And Shibb, I mean, I can speak for us that we had, there was solid viewership over the 4 days. I think we could all agree this is the birth of esports. It's cool to be here at the beginning too, because like you can see the full beginning of the storyline, right? This is movie number 1. And in a couple of years, which Vikki, I'm sure you've seen this in your, casting tenure, like you see a player or a team just evolve. Like it's such a cool story when it's not like a day-to-day storyline, but it's like a year-over-year storyline.
Yeah, it even gets better too when you see the titans of a region fall, right? Sometimes even the giants have to eventually fall. And when they come down, they come crashing down. I love talking about the highlights and the peaks of these different teams. But when you have that one player, like if you're talking about fighting games, or you have that one team that is unstoppable, the moment that they start falling down, or the skill gap between themselves and the rest of the region or the rest of the teams starts closing in, that's what leads to really cool competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, we're here, guys. We're going to do a little power rankings on a weekly basis here. What we think is the titans of the esports scene right now. And sometimes win losses don't reflect that. Sometimes there's different things that we saw. I don't expect us all to agree, but that's the beauty of having 3 people, get a little panel going on. We're going to have to, we got 2v1s, so we can have vote outs if needed. But we're going to go team by team. And from left to right, guys, you're going to see the ordering. I guess we do. Do we start? We got to start 16-1. Yeah. I mean, we got to go from top to bottom.
We're going to go bottom. Are you top to bottom or 1 to 16?
Bottom top. Is that
okay? Bottom top.
Is this reflecting after what we saw too from yesterday, right? Like even the teams that, can't make a comeback.
Yeah, so even if they're out of the tournament, I still think we could rank I plan on ranking some teams that are out higher than teams that are in currently.
Okay. I like this.
There's a couple. It is a little spicy, but because you got to think about it. There's a couple teams, so we'll give like team overviews too when we talk about this. But there's a couple teams that just got bad draws, like really tough lines, like right off the rip. Whereas others got, I think, a little bit easier. This is where you're gonna get all that. On air, we can't say all this, right? So I think this is the fun part. This is where we can kind of give our opinions a bit more. I'm sure this will surface somewhere, and people are they're gonna find it. But all right. I guess let's go around, dude. Let's say I'm gonna say 16. Okay, so the worst team in the tournament, and this is always the way I feel bad. All right, but who we saying? Vikki, I'll start with you.
Oh my god. Okay, so personally for me, Dark Zero. It's gotta be Dark Zero, man. I gotta say it's Dark Zero, and I was expecting so much from this team. I was talking them up. Do you feel like Dark Zero is one of those teams that may have had like a bad draw? I just feel like Team Nemesis is a really good team. I'm not surprised that Dark Zero did lose to Team Nemesis, but I also felt like Dark Zero was better than Techie until we saw that play out. And I know Shibb had covered that too, but I don't really know what happened there. Do you think that was one of those matches where they lost just in the ban phase? Because that was another thing that I considered.
Yeah, I think they got a little tricky with them. I mean, and I was just going back to look because you guys, you made me think for a minute there about like their journey off the rip. They started off Nemesis, although Nemesis is a great team. Like it wasn't something like you see Alani go against Sentinels. You know what I mean? Like that is a tough match one. It is Nemesis, so I'm with you. I like this team a lot. I actually have the most experience in ladder with this team with DZ, and they just did not perform for me.
It's hard for me to.
Who I think actually did worse, in my opinion, was LG, dude.
Okay. I wanted to just say this. I think Dark Zero, they definitely were the favorite that underperformed, but they're definitely not the worst team in this turn. I don't feel like they're the worst. I feel like they're a good team that played bad.
Yeah,
they played really bad.
I like that. They just hurt me the most because I was like, dang, I thought you guys were gonna do more than that.
I think they were the only favorite to lose.
When we talk about like the bottom end teams too, like I can't say a specific number just yet while we talk about the other teams and why, but LG definitely was the other team in mind that I know they had a lot to prove, but this team, dude, like. What happened?
I think LG is probably who I have. Because who's the other after Sunday? LG took the exit and Shikigami won against Jobless.
They won against LG. Shikigami beat LG. Now they have to play against Ego Death. And then the other Solaris.
No Job and Fly is the other one.
Solaris did great. Solaris has been doing great. So I can't even though they're out of the tournament, the only other teams would be Dark Zero and Alani Win,
Yeah, so okay, I guess right now the conversation is who I think Alani Win played better than LG. I think I can agree with that. I think versus Sentinels and their game on Sunday, Shibb. Would you agree?
Yeah, so I like the idea right now. I think what we should do is we put like a grouping and then we finite it at the end, right? Like, so I'm with you that both, and that's where it is going to go for me as well. I liked LG a lot, and I have a lot of experience with somebody they had on the bench, a really strong player, but Alfie was also a Magneto. They both ran the same role, but yeah, I was disappointed with how they performed. It just couldn't get the job done. It wasn't the hardest of brackets.
So here's my opinion. This is where I want you guys to change my mind before we put this 13 through 16 together, which I guess, this is what, 3 of them here. But I personally think Solaris was a better team. They played Envy, and then they had to play FlyQuest. So those are 2 top seeds. And it's a team that I think they almost beat them twice. Both teams they almost beat, by the way. Both teams they almost beat. They played well. I can't put that team towards the bottom. Even though they're out of the tournament, I feel like they're a better team than where they came out.
I agree with that. 100%. I think they got screwed on the bracket.
Okay. I wanted to that was like my hot take.
They're the best team, in my opinion, that has been eliminated.
Okay. All right. Yep. All right, we'll agree on that. Okay, so this is our we only have 3 down here, right? It was 16. Wait, that's 4. 13, 14, 15, 16. So it's 1 more.
And then DZ, Alani Win.
So we'd have to pick a team that's in right now. that would be here too, right? Yeah, because if we're gonna put Solaris up here,
you think Solaris should be in 9 and 12 is what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that. I'm just curious to see who I want to put down there then.
Nightmare.
I think so. Shibb can speak better because Vikki and our Nightmare game that we casted was rough, was ugly, ugly, and they lost against Jobless, which I'm nothing against Jobless, but they that was a. I think we thought Nightmare could have won. They were the org, you know, right? They played it. Yeah. They were the org, so it's a bit tougher. Even
they
though
lost against Citadel.
Sorry, against Citadel. Shicky won. Yeah, that's what that was. Shicky. So it was Citadel Gaming, who was the up and comer. Nightmare. Is it Nightmare here? Would we agree? Or is it new Shicky?
So I'm looking right now because I'll say you guys wanted me to talk a little bit about my experience with them against Alani. They looked actually good, and that's where I'm with you. I think I would have put them down there after day one for sure. But Alani kind of changed my mind, and they owned up to day one being really bad. Like it wasn't like they just felt like they struggled. So I'm cool with leaving Nightmare there for now until we maybe have more discussions with the other teams. But I do think we're going to see maybe, it's week by week. So for this week,
What about Shicky? I just want to ask, Shicky was another team that fell flat with us for sure, Vikki. Like we were like, nothing even happened on that. How did they do with their win against Alani win?
Well, that's what I was going to say could be the potential switch would be Shicky. But they also had a similar story where in game 2, they looked really good. So it was like, it's almost to me, those two in my mind are the exact, like I would love to see them go at it. Because they're kind of playing the same way to me where they just had the nerves on game 1 and then really started picking it up. And Shicky obviously is like a brand new team for like completely for them. So I think they just need more time.
So not to put you on the spot, since Vikki and I didn't do lower bracket casting, I'll let you pick. So you're gonna have Nightmare down there over Shicky because I'm gonna let you, since you saw both those teams and casted over them. I watched the matches, but I'll let you make the final decision on 13.
For this week, let's do Nightmare at the bottom because I think the first game they played just looked really bad. And then they looked clean, but we're doing week by week, and maybe that'll change next week. But let's do that. I like that.
And then within
was that the Krakoa map, by the way, that you're talking about? The first game for Nightmare versus Alani win.
But let me go look. They won Krakoa 2-1. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that map specifically. That was the opening. Because that was the one that I was watching already right now, actually, while getting ready. That was another one of those weird matches, too, where it looks like it was close, but then, like, at the end, it just throw. It literally looked like a momentum shift.
Yeah, I want to go back and look at the comps again because I think it's the match I'm thinking of. I'm going to try to pull it up here just to glance at it while you guys are still going.
So I swapped around the order. This was the order that I would probably have. LG, I probably have at 16. I think Alani wins 15. Dark Zero, even though they didn't perform well, I think Dark Zero, as far as the respect I have them at 15 or 14. I can't put them any higher, though. I can't put them over Nightmare, who's in the tournament. Like, it obviously isn't the case. And then Nightmare at 13.
So it is the game I thought. It was Juker popping off on Torch, and that's what changed my perspective on Nightmare as a whole. It looked insane. They pocketed him with Invis, and he just tore the lobby up. They tried to match it with Goma on the other side for Alani, and they could not get the job done. But yeah, no, the Juker was a problem, and so was like Aurora and Hydron. Hydron is disgusting. So now I do want to switch him. I can't keep looking at this stuff because now I want to switch him back.
You want to switch Nightmare out? I'm good with it. Again, I'll give it because even Hydron, like me and Vikki were like, oh, here we go, and it just wasn't there. Like it just was not on that.
Dude, I talked up Hydron so hard.
The whole cast,
and
Vikki
then,
did.
like, dude, and he was like the one that was getting called out the most. Like,
oh
just
sure,
in the game, and but obviously that was earlier on, right? Maybe they figured something out, during that 1 day, 2 days where they had more time to figure shit out. But it was rough. It was honestly really rough.
I think Shicky would be even happy that they're 13 out of 16. I think this is probably, I feel like Shikigami did great. We have to see more from them. I think if you think the player talent is just a notch better on Nightmare, I'm good with putting them in 9 through 12.
For this week, let's put Nightmare above. I know it's kind of a little jumpy. It won't be like that in the future, but I just wanted to make sure it was the map I thought when Juker was popping off, and then Hydron really was doing work. We interviewed Hydron, and he pretty much said, I'm now in charge of comms, and we played like, cheeks game 1, and we're playing the game now.
Yep, 100%. All right, so we're 9 through 12 now. Okay, so we have the bottom 4 there. 9 through 12, getting a little bit better here. I think this is obviously where, and tell me the teams that you think should be in here. I think these 3 for sure, and with the 4th be Shroud X, obviously.
Shroud X, yeah. And I think Solaris needs to be right there. I think they're that good. I think they were that good.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think both these teams actually, both these teams are, well, Shroud X is at least lower, but this team's out completely. I think Shroud X, I mean, we saw Shroud X was moments, seconds on multiple maps from winning and advancing in the upper bracket. So it's tough putting them here. I honestly, actually, can I ask this, guys? Shroud X versus Jobless, you would still, I think Shroud X might need to be top 8. I don't know. These would be the 3 I would put against them here. Do you think Shroud X? I don't think.
Well, who's your argument for 9 then? Who are you thinking for 9?
Probably this. I think so.
Jobless.
And I hate to do that for a newer team, who definitely jumped up. But I think Jobless, and I would honestly, personally, I would actually have these guys at the top. I would have these guys at 9 as far as just talent and what they had. I think they had that bad of a draw, but I got to let the record speak. I'm going to let the record speak for itself a little bit here, as this actually looks like a record. Vikki, you saw that. You saw this game with Shroud X and Nim. You think they're better? We watched both these teams twice.
I think Shroud X has to be better because they have more experience. Like, it has to be, right? Like, on paper, statistically, I think they have to be better. Yeah, we saw them both, but Jobless at the same time, they took 100 Thieves to like the very last round for that second map. Remember? Like the one that it literally was so close, but they got mollywopped on domination.
They got like, it was
that shit was like a speed run.
Yeah, it was 2-0 quick whenever it was 100 Thieves versus them. Like they did okay, and then it really went rough. That's what I was telling Shibb earlier, how it's like it was Dom that it was so bad that by the time they could get it back together, they lost the second map and it was kind of over. Like Olton started to kind of step up, and we started to see that from them or whatever. But yeah, it was a little too late there, and it really came down to just like honestly some Punisher play and some pickoff there.
Right.
I think was it Jobless? I think it was Jobless who I really liked their supports though. They had strong strategists.
Yeah, Jobless looked really good. I was surprised with Jobless, and they had a sub in too. I know they have a really strong duelist that wasn't even playing, so that's why and for this week, I'm definitely cool with 9. I think that's totally fine, and I think that we got to put Shroud X and Nemesis right on top of each other is my thought as well, because that match was crazy for me at least. I thought it was a really fun match to watch, but
we highlighted a lot of British Tree and Olton specifically from Jobless Bombs.
Yeah, but British Tree was okay. So the whole matchup was going to be Vinny. So if you guys don't know, 100 Thieves, we'll get to him more. But 100, he's like the group guy. But on the comparison graphic, like British Tree looked so good. Like his stats were insane. He did awesome. But then when it came to British Tree, oh dude, this was what it was. Delina was punishing that entire team, and they had MRC was the Hella show. We didn't see a lot of that in this, but they had no answer to Delina, and I think Val was their name. It was the name of the duelist that tried to like
Valk.
1v1. Yeah,
Valk. Yeah,
Valk tried to 1v1 Delina, and Delina would just erase Valk and then destroy British Tree. British Tree could not even get out of his like spawn because it was so rough.
I mean, yeah, the stat line of those games were brutal, if I remember correctly. I was trying to go look, but I could look later. I'm pretty sure 100 Thieves, if you look at the numbers, it was like insane what the difference looked like in terms of KOs. So it may have looked closer than it was, because I remember looking at the names and thinking they were strong, but I think like it was night and day how bad they got smoked by 100 Thieves.
Talk to me about Techie a bit, because I know me and Vic didn't even get to see Techie. Really, I mean, we watched him back, but like I thought this was a team that was honestly going to be out, and then they surprised me on lower.
Yeah, so similar story. I thought Techie was more of a meme thing, going into it, and then their duelists just happened to be really, really good. Honestly, everyone was playing well in game 2, so I think Techie, and we have Techie right now on 11. I think that's a pretty good position because game 1 looked horrendous. I think they said they found their footing and they started playing together well. Tap was a really mean Psylocke, and Psylocke still is in a good spot. If they somehow let Emma through, Tap's going to dominate and do like a great job. So there's definitely a strong team, but I just don't think, they're obviously unsigned and they're obviously, just friends, which is awesome. It gives you I think it helps you in the game in terms of this tournament, because you're not going to get as hot headed with each other. You're going to keep a level head. You're going to have a good time. And we talk about all the time about how that kind of gives them a buff, but in a total skill of a team level, I don't think they're going to be a massive force, but we'll have to see next week. I think I like them being more towards the bottom right now.
Vic, yeah, I think I want to just gas up Jobless Bombs, because I do think we got to remember they played 100 Thieves, who's playing at probably honestly the
I
strongest level right now, almost. I mean,
I think
Yeah.
they're gonna beat FlyQuest. I think they're gonna be
Fellas?
FlyQuest. I think that's gonna be I think that's gonna be the ultimate test because FlyQuest has been question mark all around that
Mm,
team. A team that like we figured was gonna be one of the hitting teams, losing to Ego Death, which by the way, top team for me. But getting to that later. But the fact that they lost to Ego Death, the only other team that I can imagine that's gonna come out of left field that they're not expecting is gonna be Jobless Bumps. Like the Ego Death and Jobless Bumps are the two teams that are like the dark horses that these other teams just do not really know much about.
agreed. I think Oltons is up there in like if we were to do like a top 10, we'll probably do this next week where we do like in roles how good each player is or whatever
Yeah.
across the teams. I think Oltons was one of these stronger duelists that we saw. And Valk did good, but if Valk can figure out, like sometimes you just don't have like again in the NFL, if you ever sometimes there's like a receiver that like you don't have somebody on your team that can like deal with that person and then you lose, right? Like so Delina like just did that good of a job that it made it so rough on them. And then as Vikki said earlier, they were coming back. They were starting to do a little bit better. I believe it was Midtown or yeah, it was Midtown, right, Vikki? That jobless win against 100 Thieves. And they were like starting to come back a little bit and starting to like get some heat going. In fact, their first push was awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to win this whole thing. And they even got like a back cap on 100 Thieves. Like that was so fast that we like, it was even past the action. So I think that team is honestly, towards even top 8. Like they're right there. They're right at that line. That's the difference between them.
yeah, I mean, them going to point, like you said, them pushing that far against 100 Thieves is enough of a tell to me that how strong of a team they are. They definitely have got a lot of strong players. You mentioned British Tree a lot. I think he did pretty well, but I don't think he was a standout for me. Like I said, I think Oltons, I think Valk, they looked really good in both games. But one thing I need to touch on quick, because I think we might be getting too deep, but before I think we need to say this, and I'm curious what you guys' take is, and this is a hot take, because I think and this is a team I personally enjoyed watching the most, was Ego Death. I think the teams have figured them out now. I think they're probably doomed.
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, it's tough to compare, right? So they beat FlyQuest, so like their power rankings through the roof, right? But then they lost, and then they lost to Envy. So when you beat one of the best teams and then you lose to one of the best, like it almost evens out where you would think top 4, but because we don't have a lot around them, it's tough to say. But I would agree with that. But also, if you look at who you'd put in the top 4, you'd have to put, you'd have to, because I think we know what the 1 through 3 is. We're about to get there in a second, but you'd have to. It really comes out of FlyQuest and I guess Nim. Oh, that's tough because we can do top 8 here. We're about to do top 8. I just want to say this before we move on to wrap up the 9 through 12. Solaris, I think Gale is on a level of, I wish I saw him on a, and this is nothing against the team because I thought the team was good, but there's certain
on
things.
A different team.
Yeah, he's so good. Like that guy's so good that I want to see him shine, you know? And there was some overextension on plays. Like even the play was good across the board. It's tough to see him out of the tournament because I enjoyed him. I enjoyed watching him.
It's a similar story for Citadel with Mace for me, because I think he just really runs the team when you listen to his comms, and he was making some crazy plays with Strange and portals, and so there's that conversation's up there. But the only reason I wanted to bring it up from 9 to 12 and say before we went into 8 is I think there's maybe a chance, and I'm curious. That's why I wanted to bring it up to you guys, that maybe we put No Job up in the 8 and put Ego Death down in 9. And I know that they beat Fly, which was a huge deal, but like we have been told from Cal, which I actually do agree with from the interview, he's like, well, yeah, they hit us with the surprise factor. Nobody was ready for that, but now all of us are ready for that. You know what I mean? I
could respect it.
I don't know.
I could respect what you're saying, but I also think they played Envy. They smoked FlyQuest, and they started. Dude, this is what I think. And Vikki, I don't know if you agree here. I think Ego Death. They forced the fun factors. Everyone was like, Self is crazy. Black Panther. He is. We're going to highlight him in a second. But me and Vikki watched, dude, on Dom, they ran an awful comp for like 75% of that match. And then finally they were like,
the Venom one?
Yeah. I'm talking when Self was Black Panther on Dom and like, it was like not working. It was just, it was awful. And then, don't even get me started on the central,
because they tried to run the Black Panther and Venom matchup. And then like he threw himself off the map at one point. And then
Ensembles great, but that was, this is so tough.
You lose the strength of the hero nowadays, honestly. I mean, he hasn't been changed much, but it's just, when you have more consistent dive where things like Cap are also really annoying, and more dive, like even I don't know. There's just not
Thing.
too much to fit with it right now at the highest of levels.
This is the team. It's
Like
like
the Thing being another one.
this
Yeah,
is the team. I
counter it.
think. Do we get tricked by their impressive win per se
That's what I'm
against
trying to say.
FlyQuest, or is it more FlyQuest that lost the game? Right? Did they win FlyQuest, or did FlyQuest lose? And then did Envy? And then Envy just was Envy. And so it's so. I wish we would have seen them against like Nemesis. You know, like something where it's like we can have a
Yeah,
bit more of a
me too.
gauge because you're losing to the top team. So I can't fault you for losing
Yeah.
the top team, but I do think you're right. I do think that the dive antics are going to be tough to handle for some teams. Envy's just so locked in. Here's the thing. This is the big thing, bro.
Yeah.
Is that when Somble and Self would come in the back, Speedery would, the whole team would just cycle, kill him, go to the next guy. And I don't know if
Yep.
every team has that level of coordination to handle that level of dive, although I do respect, and it comes down to, I guess, it's Shroud-X and Citadel. Like, I personally, I think they're better than Citadel. I would have them better than Citadel, I think.
Okay. You say Ego over Citadel?
Vic?
I think I would have to say I don't agree, but I don't know. I like it. I like this conversation because I think this is the closest the teams have been.
Well, so I guess as we break down the top 8, we might as well finish it out and then we'll break them all down. So who do you guys have here
Sure.
on I guess we're not.
I think
Yeah, who do we have
you
as
guys say Nemesis is my thought. I don't know. Nemesis or Fly, because Fly is kind of making some mistakes there.
Fly. We gotta. Okay, is it that time? Is it the Fly Quest breakdown? Because we gotta figure them out.
Yeah.
This
like,
could be a
well,
long conversation, I think.
I don't even know where I would put them maybe.
They sold on hero selection against Ego like crazy on map 1. It was insane.
Do
Yeah.
you think they would? Do you guys think that they would be Ego Death in the run back? Because like depending on what happens in the next series, they would have to play against each other again.
I guess my follow up to Shibb is they benched Light, right, for Adios. Was that? Did we ever get info on that?
So that's part of the million piece conversation we need to have. I think the big things we need to talk about are hero selection was crazy. The Light thing. I mean, I have genuinely no idea. I'm not trying to start drama. I have no idea what's going on with that team in the back end. I'm sure we could try to have a conversation. Light got switched out. Adios. The only time we've seen Adios in is when he usually subs in as something crazy on a domination.
Jeff
Exactly. So now suddenly he's in the game. Yeah, like with Jeff. Exactly. So, but now he's on Duelist and is in a main Duelist role. And I'm not hating it because he's awesome dude too. So it's not, and it's just not. I haven't seen the experience of it. So I'm just confused as to what's going on.
Vikki, I think for sure, as like coming into this too, like this might be shocking to you. For me, watching FlyQuest get to the not even get to it, but almost win the MRI against 100 Thieves. Right, they almost won it. And it's a team. It's like one of the most experienced teams. Their players are awesome. Very hard on themselves. I think this team's very hard on themselves too. I was watching like Spark Chief. Like, man, that guy on Twitter, he was so pissed, man. He was so mad. Light, you know, they were just so upset with how they played. Sometimes metas, you know, we've seen great players like Hogs go off teams because just hero pool is not there. So Light's hero pool might be a little dwindled a bit, even though he does have some flexibility going. I think FlyQuest went against the worst team they could possibly go against with who they are and also on who Ego Death is. Like FlyQuest, they're like fun, they're loose, they do different things. And then you have Ego Death who played dive at the highest level. And it was just a bad mix.
Just a fun, different thing. Yeah, just a little bit more intense.
Ooh, okay. I guess before we flush this out, let's go this before we go to the Fly conversation to finish it off. Best team in the tournament is who right now?
I think I saw 100 Thieves.
I think it's 100 Thieves. I do. Vic?
You guys don't think it's Envy?
No.
What do you guys think happened to Envy then? You think 100 Thieves is going to be Envy in the upper bracket final?
That's such a crazy. I can't wait.
A day from now, pretty much. Or from Wednesday.
What do you think? Wait, Vikki, what do you think? I need to get your thoughts as a newcomer coming into the scene. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're influenced a bit.
Now?
I think I agree. I want Vicki's thoughts.
Okay. Just based on, because a lot of this is also like first time impressions. I've watched a lot of the games in the background passively. I was talking to Cozy and telling him that a lot of the times when I was actually playing my own ranked games, I would have the other broadcast playing in the background, like in front of me while I play.
Awesome.
And
yeah,
so
no doubt.
I was keeping a lot of that stuff in mind. I have always been a pretty big 100 Thieves fan, and I didn't realize like the position of where Envy has been, where they've been on like this huge winning streak. So I started researching back on it since I learned it actually like watching you, Shibb, and Dogman. And looking back at their history, I'm surprised they did drop a map against Solaris, but I don't I don't think that's gonna happen again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel they
Okay.
were really. We interviewed them, didn't we, during their ego death series?
Yeah. We
Because
We
they
both talked to Cal. I
screwed
think
ego
we both
death.
had interviews with
so
Cal.
the,
He's a dope. He's awesome.
here's the tough
He did
part.
not want to get interviewed.
This
is
he
what
did not
I'm
want to.
saying.
He did not want to talk to us. No,
Not with us, at least.
here's the thing.
We just did one.
Here's the deal. I think if we were looking at the Ignite tournament, okay, I think 100 Thieves I would have as the 1 seed of what they've done. Okay, I would have the 100 Thieves at the 1 seed. But I think if you were to ask me right now, like putting money on the line, who's gonna win that game? I think I'm gonna pick Envy.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Such a stupid
Okay.
answer, but I agree.
Okay, so
Okay, I'll follow up real quick. I actually know a lot of the people that make up Envy. Like I know Kaluj from Overwatch. Like I know Gator. These are players that have so much history to do the exact same roles that they're put on this team to do. That they're I can only imagine that they're also like essentially like senseis in guiding and helping like shape up this team. Because they're considered by esport terms like a little bit on the older spectrum. They're not old at all,
Sure.
honestly. Not in my opinion. But just looking at the way like these cracked like young fraggers are and how old they are, it's summer vacation. Like there's more time to practice. I
Yeah.
just think that that makes it different. Like
can I
Kalush specifically, like
can I
and
ask
having
this?
Gator as a coach is crazy.
We're gonna
Yeah.
do players of the week, but I have a question. If I were to say the best duelist right now in the tournament, I think we would both say these top two. If I'm missing one, tell me. But I think we would say Terra and Speedery. And I think
Yeah.
Speedery had the best performance this week.
I would say Speedery by far
By far.
best flyer in the game.
Yeah.
And then Terra is still, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best Wolverine, which is a huge issue.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably just best flex duelist too. Like just like
Yeah.
at its core. So, oh man,
Because we saw him play Punisher too.
Yeah, he does play everything and he kills it for real. He dominates. But I think that Speedery on any like every flyer duelist, it was gross to watch. It was easy.
So 100 Thieves, Sentinels were the only two teams 4-0. Well, the main teams that went 4-0. Okay, they didn't drop a map. Envy dropped a map, but let's call it what it was. It was like they played a very good team. All right, and then they were kind of flawless from there on out. But they also, dude, they kind of struggled a little bit against Ego Death, like a little bit, Vikki. They did. There was some. There was a couple points where like domination. It was getting close. Yet again, we saw the same. Didn't they lose the first map in Dom, or it was close?
No, it was close, but they never. The issue was is that on Ego Death's side, that first map specifically was their best map. The Central Park, I'm like, no, like it looked promising until they had to attack, and then I was like, oh yeah, no, it's done. The first map I think was Hell's Heaven, and it was close in terms of fights, but they
Yeah.
never were able to flip the point. Like they kept staggering.
Well, the first
And I don't know if that
map they
had to do
got
with their comp.
rolled. They got rolled. Ego Death they got rolled, and then once Self went to Wolverine, it was like a little bit better. Like it was kind of getting there, I think. But okay, I think we can all answer this right now. If you were told right now on, you had $1 million, who you put in Envy, 100 Thieves, who's gonna win this
I
week?
think Envy. I think it's Envy.
Shibb. I love the guys over
Yeah,
at
I
100
mean, just
Thieves
based
too.
off the past, it has to be. I mean, I have
too.
difficulty saying that just because of Envy's had some falters in these games. But yeah, I think you have to say Envy's going to win it
I
again.
agreed. I think so. I think you highlighted. I think Kaluj is insane. Speedery and what he does.
Yes,
Cal
but-
is so calm, cool, collected. I think the strategist play. I almost though would probably give the month. Like they got some great players. I think Harvey and SJP. If it is SJP, by the way, we don't know if he was flexed out. So I don't know what happened there. But
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a very good point.
those
actually.
two.
There's some drama there.
Yeah, I heard that those two. Which since it's stuff we don't know yet, we'll pass on it. But
Yeah, I don't know anything. I just know there's drama.
when SJP and Harvey are playing, it's so hard to top them or Aramori and Karova as who I think are such strong backlines. But I think I give the edge to Kaluj, Speed. Like that group is so top heavy.
Because then you
Yeah.
have to consider TTK. I was actually watching his streams yesterday. I was watching
So
him right
good.
grand. Yeah, he's crazy, and it's enjoyable to watch because he's a controller player. But as somebody who also enjoys playing on controller and having to adapt around both inputs, um, how far is that gonna allow TTK to like push to his limits? Obviously, it's working out for him right now, but then when you have to compare Kalush to TTK, what do you think when it comes to the different hero pools? Who do you think comes out on top?
I love this point because I'll tell you what, as soon as a hit scan Vanguard gets dropped, TTK is not going to be able to play them. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a huge problem. That's a great point. I couldn't agree more. Kalush is going to dominate, especially if they're meta.
Yep, I agree. I think. Oh, but I'll ask this though, Magneto. I think TTK's Magneto is unreal. But yeah, Kalush's Strange is there. Is so good. It's so good. But that's a great point.
Really
and we're gonna
good,
get
dude.
that.
He's
We're gonna
meta still,
get
I
an
guess.
anti-fly tank. It's gonna happen. An anti-fly Vanguard is like bound to happen. It's like the biggest like hole in the game right now. It's very obvious that flyers just dominate on Vanguards, right? So that is yeah. I like that point a lot. And by the way, can I just say I love how close this is with us. Like we are having like this is why it's beautiful. Like it's razor thin with some of these margins. But yeah, I think I can confidently say this is the top 4.
Yeah.
Real quick, are we going? Who's 5? Is it? We're going Nim for sure.
I don't.
Right?
You think? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm still thinking.
I think Nem over Citadel.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think Shroud X and Nem should be near each other. I think they are very similar quality teams. Yeah.
This
I
was
just
the
didn't like
most
the gap there.
razor thin matchup. This was a coin flip. In fact, I was telling Shibb, Vikki, that they were like 1 meter from the point, and then Nim portaled in, and then they never took it back. Like that was Shroud X played better. Nim won, like almost. Like that was almost what happened there. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to be next to each other. That's why I brought that point up before.
That was the only series we had, like Cozy and I had throughout the course of the entirety of the first week that actually went game 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys didn't have one game 1 or day 1 either.
No, that was all 2-0.
No,
Oh yeah, it was all 2-0s.
Yeah, you dogs steal all the luck, I swear. Okay, so I think this answers the question. This is why I would have Citadel here. Ego, we saw what they did against FlyQuest. Okay, they lost to Envy. Citadel, they beat Nightmare, who at the time just it didn't look connected. Okay, and then they lost. They got pretty hurt by Sentinels. Like they got. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a close second game. It was pretty close second game. But I think that had to do with the bans. I think the bans were a lot better the second game compared to the first game.
They got rid of.
I can find the bans.
They got rid of triple res, is what it was. They let triple res on Dom on Sentinels, and it wasn't even close.
Do that.
It wasn't even close. Like yeah,
Prova's so good on Warlock. He's just disgusting on Warlock.
They got rid of, and then they got rid of.
Yeah, I can speak to everyone. Aramori too, popping off on Mantis.
Yeah. They target bans Kurova. They target ban Kurova game 2. They got rid of the Atom, right? Yeah.
So which is why.
I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. I'm gonna see if I can look.
I can tell though. I can tell Shibb, you're uncomfortable with Ego Death where they're at, and you would have Citadel here.
No. So no. I like the discourse, and I like you guys. You know what I mean? And I'm only guessing, right? Because I like I said, dude, my favorite match of all of this tournament was that game, without a doubt. But when Cal said to me, "We get it now," like they hit us with they hit them with a surprise factor, and we get it now. I was like, that actually makes sense because you would never practice against a BP Venom.
And how much is it Somble and Self just selling the team itself? Like them two are so like, especially Self.
He's so cool.
Like,
He's a cool dude,
yeah,
for sure.
Somble is cool, dude, and Self is so good that it's almost like, it's a lot like Solaris a little bit, where it's like Gale is so good that it's like it's tough to rank them low. But am I thinking of just one player? Am I thinking of just one little bit there?
Good point.
I think if I'm looking at resume, I think this top 8, I think Citadel is doing so good too, and I'm so proud of them over there. I think though that this is probably, I gotta give Ego. Ego took down a top 4 and at the time probably top 3 seed. I gotta give them their flowers by giving them at least the edge, personally. And
I'm with that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want to see them do it again. I swear, if I see them do it like that again on any other team, I will be convinced.
Okay.
I think I even think their next matchup versus Shikigami will still even be like a little question marks because Shikigami also, in my opinion, still like obviously that's why we have Shikigami on the bottom end of the teams right now. Still a little shaky. So I feel like even winning that series specifically won't answer our questions. But then I also see where Shibb's coming from because Ego Death runs specific comms that could be easily countered. Like during the interview, I didn't mean for it to sound like mean, but when we were talking about who was it? We were talking about Self the Panther. And there at one point I was like, dude, like I feel like Self in general, when we take a look at specific different players that master these different heroes, you're gonna get target banned. And they didn't we saw Self didn't even get target banned. They were running like the Venom competition and all that stuff, but that wasn't even off the table because they weren't afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, dream of mine is the Ego Death and Fly lower bracket rematch. That's going to be some
That would
heat
be
if we get
crazy.
that. And I think next week we're going to see either Jobless jump up on this a ton. They're either going to go way up because they beat Fly, or Ego Death. Yeah, because I don't know how much I can move Ego Death up. I think they'd go over maybe Shroud X depending on what happened. But yeah, like that won't answer as many questions because I do expect them. Like when they came out as a surprise, I now expect them to beat Shigagami though. Like obviously.
Yeah, they have to, I think, which they can. But my thing is, I just want to see them run a very similar dive comp and find success again, or see if these teams are practicing against it. I just want to see if a practice against dive team who's expecting it to come gets messed up by it. If it's still that powerful.
Agreed.
I have a question for you guys. How do you guys feel right now looking at the state of high level Marvel Rivals gameplay and dive? Like, how
So
do you think the state of dive is right now against certain teams specifically? Like, certain teams obviously deal with it a lot easier than others. Like, how do you feel like dive fits with the way that a lot of these teams are taking this meta right now?
love it. So here's where I struggle with it. So I am in it. I just got back to Eternity today.
Hmm.
And I still think that a good Panther, even a real, like I play sometimes with the number one Spider-Man, who's been number one, and good Venoms, they are so difficult to handle. And if you don't have the right backline strategist that can handle it, then it's game over.
Yep.
But I get told all the time by the best players in the game, and they beat me over the head with it, and I feel like a dummy because I'm like, I just don't. That it's just not good. That dive is just not good. So I'm like, I struggle with that because I'm like, I see the problem with my team getting messed up by it a lot, and I understand there's counters and things that can work well, but you can still the very best Panthers like, oh, I'll just play Thing and I'll put Yancey Street down. They just avoid it and they're always away from me. I can never catch them. Like I just don't understand.
The state of
And
the
I was the number
dive.
3 Thing.
The state of dive characters, I think, sums up the state of dive. Like, so Black Panther, I put on a tier list. I was like, right now in top tier play, I had him towards the very bottom. But the great Panthers will punch up and play very well. But as a whole, that's a 1%. Like the 0.1% of these players play well. And I think the 0.1% of dive is going to be playing well. And this is with Emma always being banned. Like, think about this. Like, we didn't see nearly any Emma. None of that stuff happened. So, obviously, like, even, guys, this is towards top end play, by the way. Like, lower end is just different, and Smurfs and things that exist and whatnot. But I
And
agree.
top
Also
1% is different than top
band
0.1.
system. Different band system too. That's another
Yeah.
thing. Like, when it comes to, because then you have to imagine if a team wants to prioritize running dive, they're probably going to ban Loki. They were going to ban Emma. And then you have to consider, like, here, what else can you try to prevent, like, to enable? But then after that point, the opposite team is going to already know what they have to do because they're going to see what you're running. We're probably going to see a res comp then from the opposing side.
Yeah.
Or if and the counter argument is like, what if they just ban out Venom and Panther? You know what I mean? The next game, they're like, all right, I just don't want to deal with that anymore. And do they
Would
have?
it be worth to ban that though? Like, and then
Probably
maybe
not,
leave
but
the opportunity of having like Emma Frost, and then maybe
No, I think dive is a couple of things too. I think it's also map specific and who you're versing specific. So like, what does dive do well? Like, obviously you can delete strategists away from the board, like Luna and what her carry potential is. Like we saw that with Somble and Self. Like they got rid of that Luna from FlyQuest who had the ult, and that like turned the tide of that match completely. But how did they set that up? Was the map of Spider Island and how they were able to like go up on the route. Like even the best Self. Or even the best Panther was not playing. He was not playing Black Panther till the very end there, and we saw him try to play it on Hell's Heaven, and good God, did it? Like they just beat the hell out of, like it just didn't work at all.
Bad.
So I think it's also a bit map specific, but I think it's in a it's in a tough spot, and I think it's answered by what we saw from Envy. When you're all coordinated and you've got Somble coming, you're not phased by what's in front of you. You're like, okay, everybody turn, boom, dead Venom. Now they're down 5v6. Now it's over.
Yeah. Oh, I love this game.
Somble did insane, man. Because I could talk about this game for so long. Like, there's so I was telling Cozy, like, I love theory crafting in general, and it's because once, dude, that Venom was not able to get anything done on Midtown.
That almost tainted, that piece of the map almost tainted like what I thought of that the whole thing. It was that bad. I was just like, but it's also Speedery. It was
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
dude, Speedery's kill feed. It was just literally just the whole time. So let's take this one. I think we'll lock in this power ranking. I think that we're gonna lock this in for week 1. I guess look at the camera and post this potentially on Twitter, like on like Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
So this is our power ranking week 1. All right. I want everybody to go around and we're gonna highlight our players of the week real quick. Give me 3 players, and they can interlap. We'll start with, let's go Shibb, Vikki, and then I'll end. 3 players that you think played the best this week. And maybe 1 per role, maybe even that. Or even 2 per, whatever you want to do.
I like that. And, you know, I don't want to get, so it's going to be difficult because we've had a lot of conversation around, like, I want to say Self, right? Because just the flashiness, I think those are the kind of players that open up this scene to more people. That's what I want to see in Rivals Pro Scene. I want to see unique picks that you're like, whoa, okay, this can happen with this character. Like, that's the stuff that is really impressive to me. So I've got to give him that, and I'm sure it would be on your lists as well, or was on your lists if we want to try to keep it a little more separate. I'm going to go ahead and say, just to kind of get it a little different, I think that Hydron, going from duelist to a tank, looked really good. Like, he was playing Storm on map games 1. And then he was suddenly Strange and was disgusting. Like, I was like, that's what the change that was. And then he was running comms too, is what he was saying in the interview. So I've got to show him love, because I know that'll be a little different than what you guys could bring up. Like, we could bring up a lot of really strong players, but I think he looked really good on his second game.
Yeah, Vikki, I want to quickly say, I think we'll talk best of each role probably next week. I think Players of the Week is cool. And you see this in sports sometimes where it's like, it's not always like the best. Now, in this case, I think we have to say Speedery at some point to spoil it. Like, I think you could be the best and also be the player of the week, Vic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Speedery and Oltens, like, we were just talked about them, but there were the 2 players that stood out to me specifically. Zatex also was good. I thought Zatex did pretty good personally. Zatex was on my radar a few times, but easily overshadowed by Self. Like, Self did a very good job too, but I think at the end of the day, when the dive doesn't work and we keep talking about like what's going to go the distance, and we're talking about high level more rivals play, we're not talking about like rank ladder, etc. Like, we're talking about in a 1v1 situation. I think having more flexibility and being able to adapt around different compositions into playing those strengths, it worked out here for Ego Death because they have a Venom. You take out the Venom though to dive with, you probably put in a Captain America. And then you'll kind of get a very similar result. Now, will the Captain America be similar to the Venom? That's a whole different conversation. Going forward, though, Zytex was definitely another player that I looked at. I believe Zytex was on the Psylocke. And a few times was able to immediately follow up, but also with Self follow up, but did a lot of impact in, I think it was the FlyQuest series for that second map. It was all eyes on Self, but Zatex had set that up beautifully. I think it was like over 15k damage difference, where Zatex had done even more of that DPS than what we saw from Self.
I like the call-outs, and I like it more because it's different, than myself. I think Speedery, obviously, I just can point out because of what he carried, but I honestly, 2 players jump out. First of all, I just got to give Terra his what's up. Terra is easy to forget about because of how dominant he is, dude. Dude, like, you take Terra from the team, and it's just a different team. Terra is a Terra. We say it all the time. Like, Afrasy, Shibb, going, get back in the MRC.
He wants it.
Yeah, what he wants it, what he does. I like the humbleness of him too. Like, depends on the interview, but he was depends on the interview. But I respect his grind, respect what he does. You know who I want to shout out is Rymazing. Rymazing was is somebody who was he was considered the #1 DPS for a little bit, right? And like by a far margin. And then they had their whole like saga of losing, like, like there was a whole thing that happened, and it was like to Hela, and there was just like Rymazing was a Magic Moon Knight, and then it was like, what does he play? And he didn't really play a lot of Hela or any. And so
Namor.
Yeah, I played Namor, but to watch him adjust to the torch meta, and I think put up right there with Speedery the stupidest numbers this week. He had like 50k damage, like Rymazing step up. I want to say, just wanted to give a shout out to that. You touched on ones that I would say there. Gale, I mentioned earlier, I think he just did good. On the Vanguard front, though, outside of the obvious, Kalush, you know who I think did good was Impunity for Shroud X. I'm not saying like they lost, but Impunity was going wild on group. Like, he was
with the group.
He was going wild. Like, I thought his play was awesome. And then Crimzo. I always got to get Crimzo. Crimzo is like just
Yeah.
such a steady Eddie, dude. I tell you.
Yeah, and I liked it. And it's one of the unique things. Probably the most potentially unique play of the week was the copy from Aramori off Crimzo throwing another strangling president. I thought that was sweet. I was like, it's so risky to do that. Yeah, it's so cool, and it worked.
I want to give a special shout out to Mace too from Citadel. If we're going to talk about Vanguards, I think Mace actually did a pretty good job as well.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to mention. Like when I was initially doing the rankings, like he runs those comms. I don't know if you guys have seen one of his games, but I watched one when this wasn't being broadcasted, and I was just trying to get a feel for some of the teams I didn't know well. And he is 24/7 yelling someone to focus, and all of them are hard focusing. And you could see in their first match where they just swept the team. Every single person lined up behind him, single file line. He had a portal ready and immediately counter portal with a Punisher turret. Like he just has the brain to get ready for the next play.
Yeah, you know what's so cool? So some of these teams, it's funny, like Nemesis, I love their team a lot, but they're like a team. I think of them as like a team, where some of these have like one guy, two people that really stand out, or girl in the case of obviously like Aramori's plays insane. We'll get to her in a second.
Valentina was amazing too.
Valentina was insane too. Just props
Really
to them.
good.
Like, good gosh. But it's funny because sometimes that's a weakness though. So Gale, great example. You remove Gale, what happens? You start to lose that team, and then they lose, right? So these teams that are like a bricked together, I think is also important to highlight. But yeah, so Vanguard Impunity was kind of my shout out. I think, funny enough, like 100 Thieves, I love them. TTK, I don't get TTK. Dude, TTK's purple meteors, man, his meteor imps were on.
Oh my, they
point.
were insane.
Oh,
They
he
were
always does it. I don't
He
get
does
it.
every time right through. And then Kaluge ready to give his stuff, right? Strategist, wrapping it up, players of the week, Strategist. I'm going to shout out one that is like, who? Prince. Do you know, was Prince? Shibb, I don't think you even, Prince was a Lonnie Wind, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And it's funny because you mentioned for me to look at Prince's stats. One of the games I was like, dang, I should have said something. They SVP like every game they lost too, if I remember correctly.
Prince was a cloak and dagger that was respectable. I respect it. I honestly thought Prince as a team that's 2 in, 2 out. I just wanted to say, Prince, if you're out there, dude, great job. You know what, dude? I think Prince was a Loki main too. I think I did a video covering him, bro.
70K healing on Cloak and Dagger. I just found it.
Who was the 80K Luna?
The 80, it was a Luna Snow. It was Fidel. It was Fidel.
Fidel on Shred X. Yeah.
With Impunity. That was the series that we saw Impunity pop off in. Like I think that was the specific game that Impunity got like 60 plus kills. Like he had like 20 final hits, but then I think that was also the same game that Vision on Hella had like 31 final hits.
Vision played well too. Here's one person
my God,
I can't believe I
about
forgot.
that.
Here's one person I can't believe. Nero. I think Nero might be one of the most important players in the tournament. Nero's insane and like disgusting.
Is that
Envy.
not Nemesis?
Envy.
Envy. Yeah.
70%, 75% Luna Snow accuracy, and a Ultron flex. Just stupid. Just like Nero could flex anything and just like Nero and Speedery together, I think is what really, everything's good on Envy, but that's what really sets them apart.
Yeah, I remember Nero Ultron was disgusting. I think he was 30-1 in one game. I want to find that. I still remember that stat, and I don't even have it in front of me. I'm sure he was 30-1 in one of these games. He was disgusting. I forgot. And it's funny because my cat's name are Nero and Loki. So my wife came into one of those games. She's like, Nero and Loki are on the screen. I was like dying.
Awesome.
That's actually hilarious. What are the chances? What?
I feel like if you're watching and you're like, we're not talking about Sentinels enough or some other Sentinels, guys, they did so well in their games. It wasn't like, it was so much, like there wasn't a lot to take away. Like Aramori was amazing as always in Kuroa, but there's just like not a lot to take from those games. So I guess that's why we're skipping over them a bit. Fly had the thing that happened to them. Those are my main plays of the week, guys. Anything to close on that?
No, just a reminder that like as we go through more of these weeks, some of your teams that you maybe didn't hear us talk about will be in the limelight. It's just going to be about the games that have been more impactful in our brains.
All right, guys, it's at this portion of the podcast that I'm here to introduce the one, the only Aramori from Sentinels. And listen, I've known her for a good amount now, about 8 months, somewhere in there. I mean, I saw your name in Alpha, but it covered your team before that. But for those that don't know you, who are you, Aramori? And tell the audience about yourself.
Hello, I am the strategist player for Sentinels Marvel Rivals, and I play a lot of Loki and a lot of Luna and a lot of Cloak for the team. I'm also our ult tracker, so I yap a lot in the comms. That's my job.
Oh, good. I have questions asking who's the yapper. I'm gonna have to ask, I guess, outside of Aramori herself. First of all, thanks for coming on. So happy to have you. I mean, how is
Yeah, of
it
course.
going, and playing on what is the Ignite stage? You've been in MRI, MRC, I've watched your team. For those that don't know, and you probably do not by now, but Sentinels was Nightmare back in Alpha Beta, dominant, and then they eventually here got picked up now to Sentinels. But yeah, tell me about how it feels to play in this tournament.
I mean, this tournament, I think everybody's a little bit more excited for. Like, obviously, but the prize pool's a little bit bigger. But
A little bit.
everybody's pretty excited. I mean, at this point, like, we all kind of like know each other and like know our strengths and like know each other's weaknesses as well. So yeah, it's. I think everybody's really excited to prove themselves, and we have like a lot of time to do that in this tournament. So yeah.
How was it
stuff.
first getting picked up by this team? Like, was it wild? Like, was it an org you wanted?
Oh my God, we didn't even know that Sen was on the table at first. Like we were talking to a couple different orgs, and then Crimzo got the call. It was literally like 2 a.m. Got the call, and we were like, "Oh, so this is happening, and this is happening tomorrow." Like we had no idea, to be
Oh,
honest.
gosh.
Like they just kind of like came in and swept us right off our feet and gave us what we wanted. So it was just, wow, okay, sure, yeah.
Heck yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, it was so cool. That was such a fun time. It was what, the last Marvel Rival Invitational. It was like all the teams getting signed like officially, and it was so cool to see
Yeah.
where it's all at. And right now it's very fluid, and typically esports can be more fluid, but so we're having a lot of it's a fun part of a caster. It's just like tracking what person went to what team and whatnot. But you guys have been pretty steady. I mean, you've had a couple of exits. Hogs ended up leaving, and you have Super Gomez is flexing in and out. You have Techie now, and why am I blanking on? Nectar coming in now for your team. But you guys have been right there with like 100 Thieves, one of the most kind of steady Eddie teams in terms of rosters.
Yeah, I mean, I think our management kind of like believes in our core, and I think we also believe in our core pretty decently. It's just like, meta changes, different heroes are needed, and the DPS hero pool in specific is like the hardest thing. I don't think you could ever ask somebody to know all of it. Like that
Yeah.
is a wild thing to do. So I mean, it makes sense for us, and obviously we still really like Gomez, and he's still around and helping out as much as he can, and he's even getting some playtime too. So hopefully you guys will see that. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It was wild to see. I love Hogs as a player. I've watched him for a while. It was a little for me watching the Hulk meta that it was, right, and then we exited that. We did, and unfortunately, guys, the goat of Hulk over there. But again, hero pools, and I'm sure you only have so many spots on a roster, right? So I have to make that make sense. And as a player, actually, this is kind of off the. I didn't have this written down or anything to ask you, but as a player, is it hard losing other when you don't have that? Is it? I guess it's behind the scenes a bit, but is it up to you guys? Is it up to the coach? Is it like, for the roster and how that works, the departures and arrivals?
I think Crimzo makes a lot of the decisions, and he makes that with our manager, but he does like ask our input. He's like, how do you feel about this player? How do you feel about this player? Like, is it easier to play with this person? Is it harder to play with this person? Like all that kind of stuff. So he asks our input, but I at the end of the day, it is up to like Crimzo and like our GM. And our GM would never let something like if Crimzo decided like I hate Aramori, like our GM would never just like let him like kick somebody like that, or vice versa, just like keep somebody if they were just being terrible.
Yeah.
But it is ultimately, I think, mostly between them.
Well, it's cool. I got to say, one of the coolest things about you guys is that, your coach, your fiance, husband, fiance, I always get my fiance, right?
So it's fiance, but we are technically married. But
Okay.
I haven't done the ceremony in front of like my family yet.
Fair.
So I consider fiance.
Fair. Okay. I'll call it that for now. But I think it's so cool that that he plays going from coach to that, because it offers just a different dynamic, and it just so happens he's cracked at the game. So it's like it's an awesome thing to have, and obviously very, very strong hero pool for him. But I want to. Okay, so let's start with Sentinels, and then we'll go into some other stuff here. You guys are seeing some graphics here. We've got Aramori's play, and I got to say, honestly, one of the most dynamic things we saw. I think we actually highlighted this in the cast. Is I think in the tournament, one of the like, oh wow plays for me. Which at first when I was with Vikki, I didn't see it right away. I was like watching, and things happen so fast, and you're watching 10 different things when I'm casting. But I saw out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, wait, there's 2 Groots on screen. Wait, it's Aramori. Wait, and then it blew my mind. That was probably one of the coolest things when you took Crimso's Groot and then you double Groot. Was that whose decision was that? Was that last second? Like, how did that work?
So I knew we just needed like an ult in the fight, and they had already like invested 2 support ults, so I knew it didn't need to be a support ult. It just kind of ended up being Groot, and it was so funny because Crimson didn't know I was gonna do it, and then I Groot ulted the wolf, and I turned over and I just stood there and I stared at him, and he just stared at me back. Just 2 Groots looking at each other.
It was like a cinematic moment. I like loved, and then they grabbed it for the highlights. I was so pumped because like I could watch it back a couple of times. Like it was awesome because typically, yeah, Loki, obviously you're copying the other strategist, but and we talked about this in the cast too. Seeing you go to. It's funny because one of the things I think I said this on air, but I said one of the things I was so proud of, not only your team but yourself, is your hero pool flexibility has gone up like massively. Like you were a lot of Mantis, and then it went from now you're not even Mantis. Like you're now everything else. and I think in the MRI you were all strategists except I want to say Adam and Invis. Have you has Invis entered your pool as of late, or do you kind of have the other cores down?
Yeah, so actually something that happened in one of the first tournaments we played, and I don't remember if I think it was the first MRC because we got second in that tournament. We went to a map 7 banger against
Shibb,
now 100 Thieves.
I'll never forget.
Yep. Burned into my heart and soul and mind forever. Yeah. And what actually happened in the ban phase there is I got targeted and I got banned out. So all of my heroes that I played got banned out. And I sat there after that and I was like, that is never happening to me again. And I was like, any hero that we need that I could possibly play, I will learn. So I've gone through quite literally every single strategist, and I can at least get into the game and play them like base level. And I will say like I've probably mastered like maybe 5.
Nice.
So Cloak, Loki, Luna, Mantis, Stu. Like I would say those are like my 5, and then if I need to, I can play like Jeff, Adam, like Ultron, like all of that. So literally anything that we need within at least like the strategist bubble, I can play. I was like, I'm never letting this happen to me again. You're never gonna be able to ban me out.
Hey, when there's $3 million on the line, the coaches, they do their homework, right? They're like, okay, like who doesn't have flexibility? And I've seen that a ton in casting where it's like, oh wow, this person, they can play 2, but it's really just 1. And if you target that, it's a whole other, it only takes 1 in a hero shooter. It only takes, 1 thing to kind of have everything crumble down. So that I respect that. And I honestly could say that about a lot of your team, by the way. Like I think Rye adjusting on the fly. Rye's just amazing at the game, but watching Rye go, he was an Iron Man guy, but his torch
Rye
play.
Amazing at the game.
Hey, I'll enter the sound bit. But let's hit you with some questions about Sentinels in general. First of all, okay, I have to say, describe what it's like playing on that team in 1 word, and then describe why that word.
Honestly, out of like any team I've been on, it's very like friendly. Like everybody's kind of friends. And I know like I think 100 Thieves will probably say the same thing. They're definitely like a friend team. But I think it's very special because I mean, like you said earlier, we've had our core since the alpha. So we have been together for that long. And yeah, I mean, it's just like a friendly environment. We're always kind of laughing like during all of our stuff. My hard drive is just full of so many dumb clips, right? Of like, like Crimson will like wall my cloakle and I'll be like yelling and he's like, ha ha ha, like, ha ha, you tried, or something like that. Or I don't know, just like a ton of silly moments full of Gomez barking when he's playing Wolf as well.
Dude,
so good.
I've heard the legends and the tales. You're gonna have to release like if you get the Aramori files and just have like all these like crazy moments come out on Twitter. But yeah, so okay, you said you were the loudest. Who under you is the loudest on comms, and then who's the quietest? Who's like more the silent ninja?
Amazing is the quietest by far. This guy, we're always like, say when you ult, please.
Yeah, which is actually kind of funny as both duelists are great, but like I always think of her as one of the lead duelists. So it's like typically in other teams, like Gale, let's say for Solaris, like he's the one, like you hear him kind of like, okay, back me up, I'm going in. So that's interesting on that end for Rye.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still like when I say like he's the quietest, like everybody on our team is yappers, like they're all loud, right? So like the base level is still really high for like where's my it's still really high for yapping.
Yeah.
Like he'll make calls all the time. It's like I need to go flank, like give me this resource, like he's definitely goated in that way. But there is like a couple times where like Rise, speak, dang it. And then I would say like other than myself, like I think so the way it kind of like works in comms is like you usually have like somebody who kind of dictates like the plan, like the IGL kind of sort of, I guess in Valorant I think it's IGL. It's not as like strict in hero shooters, I don't think. I think it's kind of like anybody can make a plan really, and that we have that happen all the time. But I would say like Crimzo is more of like the like default, like this is the guy that thinks about what we're doing, thinks about what we have and plans. And I'm kind of like the person who feeds information to him. So with ult tracking, right, it's like you just continuously think about like the enemy team's ults and you feed that information and you can give that to your fight planner, and then the fight planner kind of takes that and decides what to do. And of course everybody gives input, right? But that's kind of our role. And so it's really me and Crimson, which is funny, which is we're the two loudest. But I mean, hey, whatever works.
I love it. And tell me a little bit about like, I think people never realize kind of what it's like to be a pro, right? So tell me, like, take me through a week in the life of yourself, your team, and scribs and VOD review and some of that stuff. Like, what is it like on your side? They see the game, they see the match, they judge you on the match, and there's so much more that goes into it. It's a lot like sports. We see that all the time, right? Obviously it's an esport. So, but yeah, take me through a kind of a week of what's norm.
Yeah, so especially this week leading up into the tournament, we have a lot of like triple block days. So a scrim block, for those that don't know, is 2 hours. You show up with another team in the tournament and you play as many maps as you can. It's usually between 5 to 6, depending on like if somebody didn't oversleep or there's no internet issues or something like that. And then you go ham for 2 hours and then it's bang into the next block. And you do that for about 6 hours straight. Maybe you'll get an hour break in between to eat. Most likely you won't. And then after that, we take a 30-minute break. And then it's about 2 hours of review every single day. So we do that every single day. And then it's all recorded. So if somebody needs to go back through, we can go back through and look it over. But yeah, and then after that, you're onto ranked. They're cracking the whip and getting you onto ranked.
What's VOD review like? So like for me, when I'm watching casting review, obviously, I'm going player to player. I'm looking at key moment, whatever. Are you guys looking at only yourself? Are you looking at a third person camera, looking at the team and the position? Like how does that work?
So usually it's like top down, like bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Like we'll watch everybody in the replay viewer. But we actually have our analyst, Annex. She records comms for us. So her job basically while we're scrimming, and she has it like set up so there's like, I don't know if you know this, but in the game there's like a delay, like a spectator delay.
Yes.
And so if you watch like and you listen to comms in Discord, it's desynced, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously. So she actually has it so she put in like a manual audio desync so it's the same, which is crazy, right? And so we watch some of those sometimes, but those are always from like player POV. But it gives us like an idea of like, oh well, who called to run in when they have Grudelt? Who's the bad guy? And then we can like figure it out.
Hold yourself accountable.
Who's
I
the
mean,
culprit?
Right, exactly, because I'm sure it's like, wasn't me, I swear, and then you go back and got the tapes to prove it. You know what's funny is the one thing I wish they would do, if Rivals, if you're listening, bring this please. And this is for casters, this is for spectating, this is for teams. I think their bird's eye view needs drastic help. They have like the roof on like the maps where it's really wonky and like the circle track. Like one thing I think that would make this game so much easier to follow. Like in football, when you're watching the team, you're not like watching it through the quarterbacks. That would be awful, right? It would be like you would not be able to.
It's so hard to tell what's going on. Yeah.
And so if you were able, like when we watch plays in football, it's backed all the way out, right? And you have 12v12, so it's like you're able to see 11. You're able to see the whole field and the whole team. And so sometimes in pro play, I wish we had a more clear bird's eye, and I think it'd make tracking so much easier for audience, for us, for you guys. Like that's something I hope they bring for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I can definitely agree. I think watching hero shooters as a spectator is pretty difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like maybe there needs to be like a break it down segment or something, like because they do that in sports sometimes too. I'm not the most avid sports
Okay,
watcher.
no, I
don't
love
know.
no, you're good. I love no, you're great. Sports ball. Just say you watch a lot of sports ball. For me, this is something I'm always pitching to the team. I think I'm a big fan of the Luna song. Okay, I'm a big fan of the 10-minute segues. I think that would be so cool if we had a clock in the top right corner and I or someone was able to go into that match and kind of like break down, like in sports they have like the yellow marker. So I'm like, all right, we got Aramori here and she's trying to go through the left flank, whatever. I think that's such a good way to break it down.
People would dig that. I think people would dig that.
I agree.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it always drives me crazy when the first thing somebody told me was like, don't read comments. Don't read them.
Yep.
But I can't help myself.
Yep.
I'm in the Twitter comments and they're like, why did Kurova do this? It was such a brain dead play. And I'm like, no, it was so smart. You just don't know why. And it just drives me crazy.
Oh, it is one of the few things as a YouTuber just like to get used to fast. You get fun opinions. It's easy to say things from. And the other thing is, it's like we talked about this earlier. I forgot what point of the cast we're in, but I'm watching 4 things, and maybe I didn't see one thing on the left, and it's like, but the spectators saw that thing, and it's like, how was that? And it's like, well, there's 4, and then they missed things too. Like they didn't see why Kurova did X thing because they were only looking at his ult charge, whatever, right? There's just so much going on with it. Okay, with this is probably the last team question, then we'll go to some other ones. Okay, if everybody swapped roles for a week, who's thriving and who's crying? Who is probably having the roughest time in a different role in your team? And I like this question. I think this is interesting.
So I think Amazing, if he had to play like a traditional strategist player, he would be so bored. I think he doesn't have the attention span to do it. I think he would just be so bored. He'd be good at it, but he would be really bored. And I think Gomez would thrive. Gomez is like, just give me tank. Like he's asked Crimzo so many times. He's like, give me tank. I want to play tank.
He played Magneto once. I saw it. I remember. I watched it.
That's kind of how our like triple tank comp for a bit was born. We don't play that anymore, but you know, that's how it was born a while ago. Gomez is like, I can play tank. Let me play tank, and then so we did that for a while.
I'm glad that one moved on. That was a fun little meta for a little bit, and then I feel like once it got, because you got rid of Loki, right? And that's just so tough after the constant healing. What about you? What role are you least comfortable on?
Least comfortable would be like the kind of like flex DPS. So like the DPS characters that run in and get in there. So like Star-Lord or like Wolf or like I guess those guys.
Yeah.
I can play Hella. I can just sit back and
I've seen your aim.
Shots
yeah,
all
you were
day
meant
long.
to. So yeah, you got your aim down for sure. Yeah, that I know. I would love to. I'm gonna host a cozy tournament or something where I'm gonna make everybody pro teams play. Yeah, I'll have like Speeder on Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, it'll be fun and mix everybody up in their different teams. But okay, here's interesting. This is a fun question. Marvel Rivals is the name. Okay, who is and obviously there's some birth reasons. Who is your personal rival in Rivals? Any players that kind of make you lock in extra hard or anyone? This is going to be a question I'm going to ask all the time in Ignite. I think it's so fun. Who is your rival in Rivals?
Well, it's Kalush now because he left us. But it's actually true. I think like our team has like a mental battle we have against Envy because of Kalush being on that team and him like taking off, right? It's like, oh, you left us, like you can't, win versus us, right? Like we have to show that we're still the better team, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely have that little rivalry with Cluj for sure.
I like that because you see that in sports too. When teams lose people, they lock in. It's revenge games almost, like that's what they call them, essentially. Yeah, without quite. I would have thought it was 100 Thieves, obviously, just because of the back and forth you guys have had so many times. Is that rival as thick as it seems, or is it more kind of played up? Is it really like, because you guys go back and forth, obviously, championship wise, but clearly right now.
Yeah. I honestly think like, okay, and maybe this is just my point of view, maybe my teammates will think something else. I think it's kind of played up. I think
Yeah.
it's more like, oh, you guys, we hate you. And then like, they'll come into stream and be like, hey, what's going on? How are games? Like, or they'll like play with you on stream or something. Like, no, they're nice guys, like
Yeah.
actually. But I am thankful that they, are kind of like what you said earlier, like the bad guys in
Yeah.
our rivalry.
I
I think that needs to happen.
You need a little bit of everything. I think, yeah, you need the bad, the quote unquote bad guys. You need the guys that talk loud, the ones that are, more of like the silent assassins. Like, I think every little bit is really fun to see in sport. Okay, so this is interesting. Speaking of other teams, not your team, but looking at the roster, and I love asking you guys this because you're going to get like DMs like, why didn't you say me? Okay, if you were to pick one strategist, one duelist, and one vanguard that you think is probably either the best or a teammate like that you would have so much fun squatting up with, who would it be on in those roles?
So I think Sparker is just the best player in Rivals right now, just period.
Insane. Yeah.
So that guy for duelist for sure. And then I think Saipe is probably the best strategist, which is I hate saying because he technically is my role.
Yeah.
But I do think he is like insanely good, and he's such a nice guy. Like after scrim, I'll DM him and I'll be like, oh hey, what do you think about this fight or something, and he'll give me input. And he's such a nice guy, like genuinely. So Saipe, I would definitely like to play with as well. And then for Vanguard, I just have to say Crimzo, like point blank period.
Boom.
I would not
Love it.
I would never have anybody else in that slot.
That's the right answer. That's the answer I honestly expected. If I wrote down what I thought you were gonna say, and honestly, I went 2 for 3. I knew Sparker. Yeah, if you guys don't know, EMEA VP Sparker is crazy, and I can't. Oh my gosh, the loss, that was insane. Did that blow your mind? Them losing to Rad?
Yes, I mean, I think we kind of knew something was going on because usually when we scrim versus them, like they kind of just beat us up and don't take like it's just our weekly VP beating, right?
Yep.
Or bi-weekly or whatever. But the past couple of weeks, we've been able to kind of like win those scrims, and that's not something that usually happens for us. So I think we kind of saw like maybe they were feeling shaky in this meta, but honestly, like I think all good teams are gonna have that happen at some point. I think they lasted way longer than any other team I've seen in this game so far. But now it's just going to be about like, okay, so they took an L, whatever happens. What now?
The
like,
pressure's
can they
off,
recover
too.
and learn? Right. Yes, that too. Yeah. And so I think like the best teams are the teams that just bounce back. And I think they will bounce back. I don't have any like
100%.
I have not lost faith in them.
To keep that pressure and to keep that, we see it, and I keep mentioning other sports, but we see that there too. Like just to always stay as the number one, because I say this in my cast, but like when you're number one, or even like you guys at the top, like 3 seeds, the team you're playing is always going to bring like their A game. Whereas for you guys, you have to lock in. It's different. Like not that you're not bringing your A game, but like you are the A game, right? So it's like these people are like, okay, we gotta bring like I was talking to Citadel, and they were like, it would mean so much to beat them, right? I'm not saying it wouldn't mean a lot for you guys to beat them, but you know what I mean. It's just different.
It's a thing in ranked too, where people will see, oh, they have Sen players, and then they just like pull up their gaming chairs and drink their gamer juice, and then it's like they're sweating, trying so hard. And I'm just like, la la la. Oh crap, I gotta lock in. Okay.
Yeah, right. Or you're flamed on Twitter or whatever. Like I beat this. Yeah. Oh yeah. I get that as a.
Oh my goodness.
I get that as a creator, and I don't have the guns to back it up. I'm like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna smoke Ghost. I'm like, yeah, you are. Good luck. Like, I've got this throwing Spider-Man on my team. But no, yeah. So that's okay. Very fun answers. I enjoy that. We actually, funny enough, we just talked about this. We're doing a lot of this is the America region, just because that's the casters I had on. We're gonna have leg day and a couple others to cover EMEA. I think it's very, very healthy for EMEA though to have that. They needed that. They need more teams winning at the top, and it just makes the whole scene more fun.
I think the audience is getting a little bored of seeing VP wipe the floor with everybody every week. So hopefully this makes, like you said, EMEA a little bit more interesting.
Well, heck, we almost had, jumping into a couple of Ignite questions, we almost had some upsets for sure. You guys were one of the few teams that didn't drop a map. I like y'all's bracket a lot, to be fair. I think that was awesome too. Let me,
Yeah.
I think, no, this isn't it. This was the power rankings, which I actually want you to see. But here it is. We have Group A and Group B. Let me pull these up for everybody to see here. So this was Group A. Anything here that kind of surprised you or matches that you were able to see?
Honestly, like our whole team was kind of thinking Solaris might take out FlyQuest, and that was a
Same.
close match. Like before they started to play, Solaris is the kind of team where if you're a top team, you honestly kind of have to be careful because all of those players are good players, like individually. They just play like a ton of ranked. So if you kind of get into like this deathmatch style game with them, there's a good chance they can just win, right? Like they'll be mechanical, they'll like win, which is how they managed to take maps off of MV and FlyQuest, right? So we were kind of like, there's a chance Solaris could like beat FlyQuest, but FlyQuest ended up playing well and doing what they needed to do. But that was close. Like we were all watching that. Like, oh my god,
it was real close. Like they almost beat. Not only did they play NV well in domination, they did pretty good against NV. Even in the next two maps. And Gale, I was actually talking about him. I think tremendous player, right? So like, just watching their team comms, like I respect the players that have their comms, even if it's delayed or whatever. And obviously, pick ban phases are gone, but I love hearing y'all's comms. Yeah. It's so fun for me to like just hear. Every team's so different, dude. Every team is so different on how they operate.
Yeah, it's definitely super fun. Like we were watching Gale's stream for that reason, right? To like listen to the comms and stuff. Yeah. I think we're not brave enough to do that.
No, don't be. I think it's great if like because they say it's a stream team. I think it is almost right.
It's really good content.
Yeah, and so why not? If I was in Ignite, I would promise you my comms would be just because I know I could make content off of it. Like that's how my brain would think. But so with what'd you think of some of these other kind of cool stories? You got Ego Death. You've got who's playing Dive, which was wild. This is a good question. This has been tossed around. Do you think Ego Death got the win because it was surprising and now they're figured out, or do you think that they have enough gas behind that Dive team to actually make it further in the lower bracket?
I think that any team that plays like kind of like a unique style in these tournaments has like a good advantage. I think that's not like people could call it cheesy, whatever. But I think any team that doesn't get to practice against a comp and then you're really good on that comp and you play it the way that you're meant to, I think that's an insane advantage for anybody. I don't think it's cheesy at all. I think Ego Death could have a really good lower bracket run.
Yeah,
100%. People, there's hardly any way to really prepare.
Yeah, honestly, too, that's sometimes why these lower seeded teams can pull these upsets, because you guys scrim all the other people. By now, I know you probably know Harvey and everyone's tendencies, right? Or Delina. Delina is coming off the freaking back right. He's gonna come for the snipe or whatever. And when it's self, right? It's like, okay, how does he play Panther? Like maybe it's different or whatever. I still think it's crazy to Panther. Group B, this is y'all's bracket. This is what y'all's journey has been so far. I thought Alani Wind actually played pretty decent against you guys on Central Park towards the end. You guys definitely figured it out very quickly there, but wanted to give them kind of their flowers for at least doing okay against you guys for a team that was the last one to make it in there.
Yeah, Alani Wind, I hate Wolverine.
Yeah, I know, he's so good.
Player, I feel like I could do everything right in a fight and like my whole team will still dive to Wolvel, and I'm like just slamming my desk like, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, they played fine. That was a good Central Park game. I remember thinking that was a good match. And same thing from Citadel. That everything was good from them too. We had a good path game. That was fun.
I feel like you guys were locked on Citadel. I feel like that you guys are not to discredit Citadel. I think they did good, but I think you guys are locked. I like that for anytime you have your first, it doesn't matter how much you've played. Like you got your first Ignite, you got It's new, right? And I just felt like for you guys, and you've played Boom Crew, I'm sure. I'm sure you guys have you guys scrimmed Boom Crew before they were Citadel?
Yeah, we did. I think not as much as like NV or 100 Thieves
Yeah.
or VP, but we did scrim them.
You
Yeah.
at least knew them over Alani would. I'm sure you never even heard. I'm sure you played with some of them on rank,
No.
but yeah, like not yeah. Outside of that,
Yeah.
well, now it's Nemesis, which I think Nemesis and Shroud X was probably the game of the tournament. I thought that was the most tight. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it was either team. We were doing power rankings, and I get Shroud X sometimes can't capitalize at the whatever their storyline, but I think that that's a coin flip between those two teams. Nemesis, though, has been getting a lot of love lately. Dark Zero, good team. They dominated that game, and then they go in to win against Shroud X. So, what do you expect against Nemesis? You know, what are you feeling confident? You know, like what? Talk to me about that.
So that's old Shicky, right?
Yes.
Like just
Yep.
to
It's all,
okay.
old Shicky.
Okay, I used to remember them because of Ricky from Shicky. So
Yeah, there
Ricky
you
from
go.
Nemesis now. Okay.
Yeah. Less of a
they're
cool
good,
beat
solid
there.
team. Yeah, whatever. They're a really solid team though.
Yeah.
Like I think we are gonna just go in and play our best. And I'm gonna tell you something. The meta this week just got flipped on its head. Like somebody figured something out, which I had an
Ooh.
inkling that it might happen. I was talking to Crimson. I'm like, if people figure out this hero, it's gonna be played. And I think it got figured out literally yesterday. So metas might get flipped on its head. We might see some crazy things. It's honestly just gonna be who's most prepared because we are like, to put this in perspective, this is like a very, very new game. We're on like a fairly new patch. Nothing's figured out. Nothing's figured out, especially with the bans too. Like nothing is figured out.
Well,
So
new system completely with the bans.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's MO or mag, and then all strategists, maybe a duelist, maybe depending on and then the cloak save. We've seen a lot lately, I guess, because because that's what's
I
left.
think people are gonna be so confused by the hero picks this weekend, and you
Ooh.
just have to believe that we've tried everything.
Really?
If it ends up the way that it's going right now, just know that we've tried everything, and this is it. This is the meta.
Oh, dang. I love it. I love to hear that, too. That's fun for us. I mean, I was shocked at Human Torch's level of play and the amount of play. That's just something less than ladder, more with you guys.
That character's broken.
Yeah, dude. Well, when he gets 5 patches in a row, and then like finally they're like, "Oh, well, I think he's overtuned at this point." All the flyers at this point are. I mean, Iron Man obviously lost the extra armor. That was a bummer. But I was shocked by that. I was actually shocked at, and I'm not saying this was y'all's weakness at all, but I do know that Hella and Rye Amazing, they don't mix. Okay, you guys hate Hella. Just call it what it is. MRI, MRC was the Hella show. That's all it was. And it's interesting now that we didn't see much of that at all. Like, it was just like Delina and a couple other players that played it.
Yep. I'm pretty sure it was VP that figured out that, hey, if you lock Hella versus a torch, he just kind of explodes. So
Yeah.
yep, no more Hella. And honestly, thank God. Like we we cross our hearts for that one.
Same here,
Thank
dude.
God.
I miss the Namor. I do miss the Namor Luna DP throw. Like, I loved that because I thought it was just such a cool
fun.
Poetry. Like, Punisher Luna's a little less exciting to me. A little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I think you guys are in for a treat this weekend. If it goes the way that it has.
If you
been.
think,
I think you guys are in for a
man,
treat.
I'm like spinning who this could be. And no spoilers, but I'm like going through. I'm like, okay, is there more penny play? Are we gonna get more of that? I'm going through who it could be. And there's so many duelists, dude. There's just so many. There's so many combinations of ways to get things. I was surprised at the lack of Hawkeye Luna too. I know Luna was banned a lot, so there is that. But we didn't see it as much, and I think there was only one successful combo of it. Like, that was actually the freeze. So I was a little shocked by that. But lastly, wrapping up the bracket. So you guys have Nemesis. Then down low you've got. My prediction is I think Shroud X and Nim are gonna go and have a rematch. I think that I can see those two teams advancing through it all yet again. I think Nightmare and Techie played way better in the lower than they did in the upper. So it'll be cool to see that. So you're bound to play. Heck, that's going to be interesting if you play really Nightmare and Techie. Those are two new rosters you have not played, correct? Because they're very new.
Yeah, we've scrimmed we scrimmed Techie. We have not scrimmed NTMR. We've only scrimmed the Techie team one time,
Got it.
and
Okay.
that was let's just say we didn't scrim them again. It
Okay.
was a little
Yeah.
bit of a rolling going
Yeah,
on.
good. Well, that's I like. I think Group B is a great place to be. No pun intended. And you guys have locked yourself.
It is.
By the way, if you don't know, guys, they have locked themselves into the playoffs already. So Sentinels, we will be seeing them in a couple weeks. Super exciting. And that's, I'm not saying the pressure's off now, but that's like you got to be feeling good about that. Like where it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, we've advanced. Like we don't have to, freak out about the playoffs and all that.
Yep. Now we're just thinking about seeding.
Yeah.
That's the only thing now.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna matter. I mean, it's the seating in this one was so crazy, and that was the thing. I loved the MRI MRC thing, but when you had teams and rosters leave, it's like you have shit. It just some of it was a little weird because you had like literally new teams picking up old seeds, and that was just a little bit chaotic. But so okay, a couple last things for you, Aramori. You've been I could talk to you for hours. This podcast is gonna be, I'm telling you, like forever. But
No, this is so fun. Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about your like what's your strategist play style? Can you hit me with that a little bit? What makes you different, or how do you play and choose to play the role?
Yeah, so I think okay, so you can bleep it, but in Overwatch the
No,
support
it's
role
good.
was
Yeah.
kind of okay. It was kind of divided into what was called like a flex support role and a main support role. And the main support's job was they played like the lesser mechanical heroes and they yapped constantly, right?
Okay.
And then the flex support, they played like the super mechanical characters and they didn't talk that much. They just kind of like did their job and did what needed to be done. And in Overwatch, both me and Kurova played the flex support characters. So we both were kind of like not silent, but like just conduit needed, didn't and listened to our main support player. And then in Rivals, when we first started playing together, we both obviously slotted into that comm role. And then they said, hey, we're missing this comm role. We're actually missing the person that talks a lot. And so I kind of became what was the main support. So I kind of slot into like these like not necessarily as mechanically challenging characters. So like you could think like Cloak, you could think Sue, whatever. And that was my job, which I know doesn't line up with what I was playing in like the alpha and the beta, which was Mantis,
Yeah.
right? But that is kind of what going forward, if there's new heroes that are implemented in the game, that's going to end up being my job. So kind of like the I don't know, big brain
Yeah.
characters, I suppose.
Yep.
That being said, I am still the team's Loki player, which is maybe the most
I was like that's the
mechanically demanding
skill ceiling
character.
through the roof. Yeah, what the heck? That was the opposite of although he's banned all the time, so he was the most banned hero in the tournament, but most banned strategist.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if we had known like that was the direction we were gonna go, we probably would have had like maybe Kurova learn Loki and then me learn other characters, whatever. But it just kind of ended up in this way. But I'm fine. I mean, I love Loki. I love playing Loki. I love owning the noobs. But it's like it's a huge challenge to be the brain and also be like piloting an AC-130 mech. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
like
Yeah,
it's
of course.
really hard.
When you just said like like the cloaks, and then I'm like you play a lot of Loki though, and that I mean that's my main too, and I'm like it's just because there's infinite things you can think of doing with him that there's always just and I feel like I mean I have God knows how many hours on the hero, and there's still things I'm like I could do this different. I like this clone placement different. I like this the lanterns obviously being an ultimate in itself pretty much like there's just so much around it. So okay, tell me have you had the chance to have that like look how far I've come personally moment yet, or are you just like is it just like grind time, too busy right now, just kind of going up? Have you been able to like stop back and look at kind of where you've gotten to?
I think after we won MRC, I was able to kind of like we had a little bit of a lull there. I was able to kind of like look back, and I have all of these old VODs saved from like the beta, and even like going back and watching my like POV from then and like my comments from then, it's completely different. Like I have definitely grown so much in the last like 6 months as a player, and honestly as like a person as well. Uh, it's uncomparable to like the other, I don't know, God, like 8 years of playing hero shooters. So yeah, I guess I have had that moment. I hope to keep having those moments, right? Like I hope to keep getting better. That's always the plan,
Well,
right?
well, I mean, absolutely. As one of the few women too in the scene, I mean, it's such that incredible, not only like role model that you could be, but also like I guess asking you right for advice of the next wave of girls wanting to break into esports. I know. This question that you probably get asked a lot, but I wanted to ask you too, you know, to give you the floor there. Like if I wanted to break into that, you know, what advice would you give?
I mean, honestly, the hardest thing I think for like there's tons of girls that are in One Above All right now. But I think the number one thing that we need to do as, feminine sounding people is speak and talk and calm and really make ourselves heard because I think a lot of people don't realize how many of us there are like in One Above All or even like Celestial or Eternity, right? Um and so the number one thing I do when I'm in a comp game, obviously, it's a little bit easier for me because people know my name, right? And I feel like there's like a respect that comes with that I did not always have
Hmm.
and definitely have felt with the game without it, right? Or at least hero shooters without it. It's just when you get into a lobby, you just speak and calm and try your hardest as much as you can. And I think with that, like over time, the attitude towards feminine sounding people will change completely. I think so. Um, and I know for a fact that like I've been, you know, communicating and talking on teams and in my ranked games, and then all of a sudden like another girl will start talking, right? Like I know my presence makes the other girl feel more safe. And like that is ultimately like the goal, right? Just the more of us there are, the more like we can feel safe together and feel like we're not gonna get slurred or screamed at in like a game.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just talk your heart out. That's what I hope every girl does
Well,
for sure.
beautiful. Thanks for answering that. I think, yeah, I mean, you already have the BM of just being a hero shooter. Like you've got to deal with just like if you roll out a spawn round, people already hate you, and then it's like they can look at three things. They can look at your username, the hero you chose, and then the sound of your voice, right? So they're good. Like that's why it's just extra.
Three
Just,
for three.
yeah.
Like,
3 for 3. Okay, I actually usually
get
don't.
stuff out here.
I usually cannot. I usually can hold myself together. That got me. That is funny. I even didn't realize that you were literally 3 for 3 in that category. That cracks me up. But yeah, it is. It's definitely just so cool. It's so cool to see your story. I gotta ask, like, for you, what's a match or a moment in your career? I guess you kind of just said it with the MRC, but like that you felt like you were the main character. It was the MCU movie of Aramori, or just like your proudest moment.
Um, well, I think I definitely have like when we were playing versus 100 Thieves in MRC and we like team wiped them really hard. I was even playing Mantis, I think. For like one of the one times I get to play Mantis, thank God. I like killed 3 people and then I like went and played the flute on I think Tara's body or something. And
Yes.
I remember laughing so hard and then Sentinels posted it on Twitter and I was like, this is my moment. This is my me
Yes.
moment.
Oh,
Um I
that's
don't know.
awesome.
I like emoting. I think all of my favorite like moments from competing are like after we win and I emote. Is that BM?
No, I
Is
like
that
it.
a little bit
Crimso
BM?
Crimso threw me off completely because I'm like over here casting Yggdrasil and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if they'll come back. And like out of the corner of my eye, I see this like wall rainbow set up and I'm like, what the heck? And then I was like, Crimso's at the top of it. I'm like cracking up and I'm like trying to like stay on target of what I'm saying. And I love that. I think it mixes it up. I think it's funny. I like that and I like the camera wiggle. Like if you get like a 4-piece and it's like on you POV and you're just like
Yeah, I love that so much.
because you can like feel the person on the other side of that screen. Like it's just such a
Yeah, like freaking out.
Yeah, for sure. But we definitely gonna have you back here on this pod. I'm sure I'm gonna interview. Actually, we haven't interviewed you yet on Ignite, so I'm very sure if it won't, it'll be in the coming days. I'm gonna make you come up at least one of the days to reconnect with you on camera. But just appreciate you coming on, but just your spirit, your team, and it's gonna be fun to watch you guys I mean, in the playoffs and hopefully beyond that. Anything that you want to say to close the close the floor? The floor is yours here.
Yeah, just thank you guys for cheering on Sentinels. I would not be here if you guys were not cheering for us and giving us your support. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, make sure to follow my team and watch our journey. Woohoo! Thank you guys.
Yeah, and you guys can find all of her social links, Aramori's, all of her stuff is going to be down in the description below. Check her out on Twitter. You can find her streaming on Twitch all the time. She's she's on all the time. You can watch I
am live every day.
watch the flutes in person there on Twitter. But thanks so much for coming on, and we'll go ahead and hop to our next topic. We're going to take things now and quickly week by week, and we'll probably have other weeks where we talk a bit more in length, but sick of time. We're already going Lord of the Rings movie over here. Let's talk about the hero and the hero meta a bit, and kind of who we saw, what we saw, the team comps we saw, and I think Shibb and I talked earlier, the pick ban system really allowed their just unique play that we haven't gotten to see, especially MRI, MRC. It was mirror matches the whole time. The Bucky show, the Hello show. My biggest takeaway that I want to call out is I thought we were going to get the same Hela lock-in, maybe Punisher, and then the Flex Hero. My MVP of the hero cast is Human Torch. I just did not think we were going to see as much. Dude, we saw every team had a dominant torch that was dominant, if that makes sense. And that's nothing like ladder. That's nothing like the ladder.
Dude, you know what I want to study too? I want to study how many times did we see Torch and then maybe Invisible Woman and Thing together? Did we see the Fantastic Three kind of rotate with that power up too? I wonder too, because we saw Torch. We didn't always see Thing, but Thing was the other hero that I was shocked to see played as much as he was.
Shibb, I want your thoughts on that, because Thing is getting roasted on, by myself included. I was not good right now, and he worked.
Yeah, I mean, my honest opinion about Thing, you know me, loved the Thing. He was the only hero I played in 1.5. That's it. I just rocked with him, tried to get to the top as far as I could with the ladder. Emma is a better Thing, straight up. Yeah. It's that simple. Just a more enhanced Thing, has better range, has more utility, can do better things. But she's banned every single game. So there is not much option. If Magneto's also banned, you literally don't have a choice, especially on certain maps. They were running Thing pretty much exclusively on Midtown every time, which must just be something that they've played and understood. When he was played the most, it was on Midtown. It must just be a good map for him, just because it's more tight. And you can get value with Thing just bopping people into the sky.
Thing didn't have any highlight reels in my eyes too. I feel he was in a lot of comps you saw, but there was never a time where it was clobber time with the 10p. You know what I mean? Especially Vikki, when we were casting MRI, there was setups with clobbering time. That was the main thing. You saw, it was the main thing though. You saw clobbering time into these combo setups, which in general we didn't see as much. By the way, the Namor Luna boost, we didn't get a lot of that this time around, which was cool. I kind of like that more. But yeah, Human Torch, Fantastic Four, we can bring it to all them. I guess Rip Reed, we didn't see him at all. But Human Torch, I was cracking up, dude. I was watching back, and the chat was like, why the hell are these torches punching midair? And over and over. So there's a big animation canceling at skill ceiling level that you can do in jukes. So why do you think, guys, that we saw not any Iron Man, one Iron, two Iron Man plays, and we saw a good amount of Storm, but way more towards Storm got banned a lot, to be fair, but we saw way more Torch than anything else.
You want to jump on it first, Vikki?
I think the reason why we didn't see a lot of Iron Man, even though we saw Ultron, was because I feel like you don't need Iron Man when you have triple support running together with Ultron. You don't need the power up between Ultron and Iron Man. I feel like that's the common thing that people would wonder about. Why? And then you're also dealing with cracked hit scan players. Good luck. You could argue the same thing when it comes to Human Torch, but Torch being able to have the dive into getting shield allows you to reposition a lot faster than when you're Iron Man. Even if you try to speed away, dude, yeah, good luck doing that against a cracked Hela. Good luck doing that against Zelena.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm 100% on board with you. I think it's just the fact of, Iron Man, I think we saw, it's funny because we saw LG try Iron Man map 1, went out there and got smoked by hit scan instantaneously, immediate switch. It's a very similar story. The juke, I think, from Torch is just that impactful, and he's just strong burst.
Which is why I was so shocked that they got rid of more shields on Iron Man's overdrive, because that was his biggest problem, dude. You're doing your gamma over, you're burning tanks, but dude, you're just sitting there. And we saw that with LG. They just, with their Iron Man player, just took 50 to the chest. It was done. Like, there's nothing they could do. All right, guys, out of nowhere, from the blue, we've got the man arriving from the Space Stone himself, from Thanos, Dogman. Dusty. What do we call you, dog? We call you just Dogman. What do you prefer?
Yeah, just Dogman's good. Dogman's good. I just rebrand like 300 times, and then eventually it'll work out.
Dude, that's all good, man. Well, the subject we're on right now is what we see out there in the ladder and what we saw in the Ignite tournament. The first conversation we had was probably by far the biggest hero that was like the most prevalent. We kind of all said was the Human Torch. Like, he was all over the place across the maps, and really the flyer that kind of stood out. Vikki also highlighted the thing and like the just getting more play than we would see typically as well. But we kind of just started from there, Dogman. So, I guess with you coming in, let me hand it to you. What was some of the hero comp stuff we saw out there? Or some maybe more picks that you were a bit more shocked at that we saw?
I think the biggest one is, I think it's the triple res is sort of like coming back. I mean, we've been watching it forever. You guys know, like it's been kind of a thing, and everybody's like, I hate watching it because it's just like, you're just always back in the fight all the time. It's like the only comp I think people were like actually frustrated with, which is funny because there's so much sustain in the game, so that's always a problem in general for a lot of like hit scans and stuff. But at least against triple like res, because you're always back in the fight with Adam Warlock, with the fact that your Mantis and your Adam can just self res. There's just so many chances to kind of come back in these fights. So I guess I was surprised that there was like so many teams that were running it, because I know before, like there was like a sort of there wasn't that many, basically. There was like a few teams that were solid at it, and then it was sort of like a
Sentinels.
back and forth sort of thing, and then it kind of fell off and then came back. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised by the fact that it's sort of prevalent still.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because it fell off a bit. MRC, like we saw it a lot. MRI, then it was a little bit off MRC, and then Sentinels just dominated, and then we also saw Solaris do it a little bit too with what they had like left in the tank. I would agree. I think we saw the comeback for a bit. I also said this, Dog. I was saying there was with this is Hella. We just didn't see that much Hella. Like Delina played a mean Hella. We saw one other one. Just Smash into playing Hella or no?
I know what you're talking about.
The controller duelist.
I think it was a series you guys casted. It might have been Smash, but yeah, it was Smash for sure. Smash for sure played Hella, yeah. There
just wasn't. Cal didn't touch the hero. We know that, but
no. Oh, it was the guy in Solaris. It was Bedtime Story 2. He also tried it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when they got smoked to. I think versus.
Seems like it's the Psylocke players, the Psylocke Hella. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much of these forced picks, though, like we're talking about these different like heroes that are coming out of left field, how much of these though were forced because of the advanced ban system, right? Like something that Shibb talked about was the fact that we saw barely Emma Frost introduced more of the thing, just a better Emma Frost, just kind of in the shape of the thing. Same thing though when it comes to res comp. I felt like it was forced a lot because we saw in the ban system like Luna Snow already banned, we saw Loki banned, and then we would see. We saw, what was it? It was maybe Invisible Woman. I think it was Invisible Woman, that last one. So it was like, Cloak and Dagger. I don't think we saw like bans like that, at least. Not that I could recall. It was usually just Luna Snow, Loki, and then Invisible Woman, which would then force out the res comp.
Yeah, sometimes you just do like four strategist bans too, and then like that's what in the lower bracket the match that we watched with Solaris and FlyQuest. FlyQuest just did 4, or is it FlyQuest did it, or Solaris did 4 strategist bans?
Solaris, because they threw off Envy. Hardcore.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know what to do. I guess actually that's kind of a cool thing. Instead of talking to start with like who we did see a bunch, what heroes did we not see any? Like I'll say this. My like surprise, like that's badass. Like I was just pumped to see it outside of like Penny Parker's strange stuff. That was nuts. But Moon Knight, Delina played Moon Knight for a little bit, dude. And went crazy. And like a little bit back to like season 1 callback, like the Moon Knight Groot ult, like, and I'm not disrespecting the team they played, but I think it was No Job. They were not. Dude, they were like not ready for like what hit them there.
Dude, was that on Spider Island? Was that on Spider Island?
It was on Midtown. Like they just like didn't know. And I always was gassing up because remember, guys, Dylan plays Psylocke a lot on Midtown. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was like his kind of pick on that map. Goes Moon Knight, stays Moon Knight, went crazy. But we did not see, at least I didn't, any Mr. Fantastic. Like who are some guys you didn't see any of?
Ooh, not once.
No Scarlet. I'm not surprised, but no.
EMEA
Scarlet.
had some,
EU
but
they
not-
did, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not here though.
It was like literally once, if anything. So I think that counts for sure.
Did we see? We saw almost. Actually, this is worth highlighting. We did not see
No
but
Thor,
twice,
never Thor.
No Thor. Zero Thor.
Oh, no Namor, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no Namor,
And only,
but
like, one or
that's
two
because of
Hulks.
that dive conversation that we were having earlier too.
Crazy man
Yeah,
was the only
weird
Hulk
though.
too. I
I'm
think.
surprised because they did run Hulk a few times, and it still wasn't matched with the Namor. So
Mhm.
weird.
What that was everywhere too. Like the match before that. Yeah, that's actually. I think Namor is probably one of the biggest shocks. I would say that and the lack of Hela. I thought was interesting. I also want to point out we did not see that many Jeff Natos. There were some Storm bands, but like I thought there's gonna be more cheese there. I thought there's gonna be some more cheese with that. We did, and even when they ran it, I think it was Solaris. Their positioning was so good against it. Like they didn't like really worry about hard countering it with Iron Man or whatever. We didn't see that much Jeff Natos, man.
Yeah, until Fly came through with the NATO of Doom and ended with 30 final hits. I was like, that's when I was like, okay, now I understand it's a problem again. Like for a while, I was kind of, me and Dog talked about it. I was like, if they're using Cloak, and we had this conversation of why it wasn't as impactful against Solaris. They were running more Guardians. They had Warlock with Bond, but then they would use Cloak, and everyone would separate on that ultimate while the tornado was coming through, and they would just find a way to escape. And it was pretty good. But then they faced Solaris on Yggdrasil, and every single team fight, the whole team was getting wiped. And I was like, okay, it's really good again. So I don't know, man. It's definitely still good.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess, would you say, if you guys were going to go around, I guess we'll start Vikki, then we'll go Dog, Shibb, myself. What would you say were the three biggest heroes in each? Yeah, you could go 2 or 3 in each role that you thought made probably the biggest difference, you saw the most, or they had one of the biggest impacts on this week 1. Vikki, you start there, going Duelist, Vanguard, and Strat.
It's for me 2 ties, and I think this is a little obvious between the Magneto and Emma Frost. It was like you had one or the other, usually, obviously. I think specifically though, I would say Magneto, just because of the impact of that ult, and being able to shut down the Luna or the Cloak and Dagger. So Magneto would be my number 1. My number 2, I'd probably say Luna, because then you also have on the other hand Magneto being able to shield your Luna against the enemy Magnetos. I was trying to ult them. Same thing, going for Cloak and Dagger, but I wouldn't even say Cloak and Dagger 3rd. Punisher. I would say Punisher my 3rd. Punisher's my 3rd. So I would say Magneto, Luna, and Punisher. Just so that way I could get three roles in there.
Okay,
Cool.
Dog.
I think it's got to be the same thing with Vikki. I mean, definitely Emma, and then over on the duelist side, I think Storm was actually kind of crazy, like Shibb said, but not only for the Jeff Nato, but also just because like I don't know, I think teams are getting like used to this damage boost thing, because I think like pair this alongside with a strategist. I think with Cloak and Dagger, like the Terra Cape is kind of nuts. Like I think that's even more insane than the Storm. So I don't know. Like there's a lot of stuff. Yo, what's up, Coz?
I wanted to actually talk on that, guys. I think my big takeaway, and someone mentioned it in one of our interviews, but it was Luna's ult that they keep. We always talk about Luna's buffs, but they keep nerfing how long, or I guess increasing how long it takes to get
how
her
long
ult.
it lasts.
We saw much Cloak and Dagger this week. In fact, that was a key save for most teams because of how fast you get the ultimate on top of the Terror Cape. And I think most people love to, just like completely dump on that hero and like their low skill. We saw way more Cloak and Dagger than I thought. I think that's why. I think it was Terror Cape plus how you could just always have that ult ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and just going to my, you have to say it. I think Cloak was the second most, and this is mind blowing to me, the second most locked character in the entire series, which is wild to say. And I think it gets crazy now because it goes down to the conversation. The meta is going to be, with this new ban system, the meta is different. It's just that simple. Like certain characters are just no longer viable because they're not going to be there. Or if certain characters had a problem, for example, something like Cloak, who struggled into Magneto, and now Magneto's banned almost every game, if not locked, and that enables Cloak to be even more viable. So it's going to shift up everything, in my opinion, which I think is sick. So I'm going to go ahead and say Cloak, and you mentioned that for the damage boost has been crazy. Alt was discussing one of the fastest ults in the game, very similar to Storm. I don't want to use Storm because you just did, but Storm also gets her ult incredibly quick, which is why people like her. Mm-hmm. It draws out strategist ultimates as fast as anything can. So that's huge, and you can cycle it again and get another before the strats do, or at least Luna does, because of how long it takes now. But I'm gotta say Human Torch. Human Torch is next level. Just the movement text, the escape with his shield, and just the head glitching. It makes it very difficult for hit scan, which is flyers counters. And if you have a flyer that can play pretty well into hit scan, then that's the best flyer. So that's why Torch is so good.
I think sorry, go ahead. I was just
I was trying to think of like a Vanguard, but we already touched on the best Vanguards.
Well, I was actually funny enough. I was going to talk on Magneto. I was saying what's so funny about Magneto, and he's had this for so long. He got banned a lot this time around, but like in this game, you almost have to be cracked without being too noticeably good. So like Emma is too cracked, so she's banned all the time, right? Loki we saw get banned all the time too. So it's like this next man, next woman up mentality, right? Of like who's that hero right there that's super good but not worth a ban most of the time, which Mag was always in that kind of sphere, and now he's risen to, one or the other kind of mentality. Vanguard, you know what I'll say on Vanguard, buddy? I'll say I think the fall of Groot per se was over-exaggerated. I think Groot's importance was shown.
Still good.
I think he still did his, between the ultimate and the spacing you could get, I think we saw some pretty top-tier Groot play.
I like that.
Wait,
I think Wolverine needs to be touched on too.
People sleep on Groot. That's actually, I've always felt like Groot is still as strong as he is. Like it's also very situational with what map you play on.
True.
It was just, I think it was all the nerfs like that came to get in ladder. Keep in mind again, because it's the Emma Mag show so much, right? Like it's different. What you're seeing with these bands, as we've highlighted, before there. Loki, dude, we almost saw no Loki. I casted very few Loki games, very few.
Yeah,
because I think it's because the games that he did play, like in the Solaris game at the very end with FlyQuest, they let it go through, and then I think one of the teams did let it go through, and it just like kind of dominated. Because like anytime they would go for like a Meteor M, just met by the crystals. Anytime there was like a one shot, it just met by the crystals. So it's like, on top of the fact that ability is just kind of broken, like it's like it's even better than Soul Bond. Obviously, people talk about how good Soul Bond is, and then Regenerative Crystal, it's just like just ridiculous. I mean, it's just you heal up when you take damage, and then also you're just invulnerable. So it's ridiculous.
My personal
results.
Yeah, fair. My personal highlight of the week is Hawkeye, guys. So listen here. So we hear nothing about all we hear is Hawkeye Luna, right? So this is my favorite moment of the cast. So I think it was Dogman. Dogman's like, everybody's complaining about Hawkeye Luna, and you don't see it. And it was like on that exact cast, somebody locked it in to play that round, and I was like, that was so poetic. But I think on that everybody, we saw a lot of that, and some people call it out as cheese, but like I didn't see as much as I thought I was gonna see of Hawkeye Luna. Even when Luna made it, we didn't see the Hawkeye get picked.
Yeah, I think we saw the team up land one time with Cal, and that was like it.
Yeah.
Like they got to freeze into a headshot one time.
Were you all shocked by the lack of Hawkeye?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I just like Hawkeye should be better. Are you gonna say something, Shibb? It seems like he should be better than he is for sure. But like, I don't know. Because like last patch, you guys remember they were playing Storm Hawkeye to like try to just get those one shots, and we didn't even see like the tandem. I think of Storm and Hawkeye once, so it's kind of insane how like they don't pair those two characters as much in this patch. But like I don't know, it should be a lot better than it is. I guess it's just because it is kind of like cheesy, but like I guess the counterplay is like we've seen with like if Mag gets through and you get a freeze and then they just block it with the shield or whatever for the one shot. So I mean there is counterplay, I guess, but it can be. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's just still too killable because like his only evasion skill is to double jump away, and that's kind of it. So maybe the fact that he's just so killable. And Punisher should also be in the same boat, but I guess with his right click you can kind of move around, and with the shift, so there's a little bit more maneuverability. And also the ultimate's kind of mid, I guess. Like those good, but also Punisher you can literally kill through support ults. You're not getting headshot damage with the Hawkeye, so I don't know.
You get a lot of impact too when you talk about Punisher ult, like through the terrain of the map itself. Like being able to blindly shoot to block off pathing on disengaging is really good. Whereas like with Hawkeye, you can't even have that close amount of impact.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that. In fact, I would say in the MRI, MRC, like I said, it was a lot of Namor damage boost, Luna hits, whatnot, maybe Bucky Groot. This one, it was Luna Punisher. Like that was a very used wombo combo that we would see, at least a good amount. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's super cool to see the different team comps that we get because of this pick ban system. I think you definitely have this, the shining stars or whatever. from there. Anything else you guys want to highlight by characters, by roles, by any of it?
I would say Ultron. I think Ultron like everybody that was an Ultron hater. I mean, everyone slowly has learned that Ultron's good, but he was really good. Like he was having huge games. Like he was falling one time. He's also very hard to hit, like Torch in the sky with that movement. I mean, the Z-axis juking up, down, and going like in those weird angles is so difficult to track. And since we were seeing so little Hela, which I don't even know the conversation about that, because the pros still think she's better, they say, or at least Cal said. It makes it hard.
Punisher as like a counter pick for more consistency. Could it be because of that?
Yeah, I see that. But even what I was gonna say is like, because Hela, at least you do more burst on when you land those shots, and with Punisher you have to track, which is really difficult to track like an Ultron doing that Z-axis. With Hela you can just kind of flick until it lands and it does a third of his HP. But
I think it's because, well, like, can I mention the Voldemort game, the game that shall not be named? You know, like, you know the one I'm talking about, or maybe not.
What do you mean?
I don't know what that means.
Which one?
What the?
You know what that means? Hello, the predecessor. This is the third
Oh, OW2.
Is this my hazing?
No, mention it, dude. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, so like, remember in that game? So like, what happened was the meta eventually developed where like Pharah became really OP because people started to like use like the vertical cover or whatever. So I think the problem is like when you play Hela against like a flyer, and then they have like you saw like the Invisible Woman shield can always save them. Or like if it's Johnny, he just gets the freaking team up with the overhealth, right? And then you can just stay alive. And there's like so much stuff to just keep flyers alive on top of like them having cover and then the sustain. So like what happens is like you're Hela, you shoot a flyer and then they just duck into cover. And then it's just like it just keeps happening over and over again. It's like, dang, I'm not getting any eliminations. And then, you know, your ultimate for Hela specifically, I think can be kind of situational. So it's just a weird character.
That's
right
a
now.
good point. That's a good point because then you're just feeding support ults at that point too.
Especially because when she was used,
the support ult thing.
When she was used a ton too was two things golf. First of all, she was used a lot too. Dive was still a little bit more involved, and her stun is just stupid. Like that was like obviously, and like you can't stun flyers as easy. The other thing, oh my gosh, this was the play of the tournament that was something happening so fast you can't even like process what's going on. Maybe it was Envy. No, it was one of y'all's games. The Doctor Strange came in, blocked a Luna ult with the whole team in it, and someone was Hela above throwing down the crows and got team wipes because the Strange was blocking the flow of healing. Was it Cat? Okay. And Dog, I think you picked up on it on the very like end of it. You're like, wait, was that blocked by the Strange in the Luna? But it was on Central Park. I don't know if this is sparking any more memory for you guys.
No, it does. I just thought it was raw damage. That makes sense now that it was a Strange block. I thought they were just focusing targets together.
Yeah, it was.
That's the cool part about Rivals.
That's mind opening.
This is my take on Rivals. I feel like the game is so fast paced that it's like you don't really see these things until you like rewatch it. So it's like there's like there's like a lot of crazy stuff that happens. Like I've seen like a Meteor M connect on a storm, but it didn't eliminate them because they literally just got saved.
The Invisible Woman?
Yeah, by Invisible last second.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, you can't even see this stuff until you like rewatch it because there's no way when you watch it you can see that millisecond of Invisible Woman shield. Like you can assume maybe,
dude.
But, like,
and even when you play yourself, you know the impact that you do if you make a crazy play like that, and then no one else will know. Like I've done that so many times where I've saved my team from an ult, from a Spider-Man ult, and he's literally looking to get into prime position. I see that shit from like 500 miles away. The moment he gets in and he tries to activate ult, I'm already in position to push him away, and my whole team doesn't even notice. Like they're like, they hear the Spider-Man ult, and they're like, "Where is he?" And it's like, "Don't worry, just forget it." Just
Forget it. Or you save the day and no one gives you your flowers. Yeah,
it's fine. Whatever. I'm clocking into my 9 to 5. Here working on the strategy, bro. Oh my god.
No, I 100%. I think for sure with this game, there's so much going on that like everyone's looking at different things. So there'll be like chat. It always cracks me up going back and watching. Like, how did they miss this? It's like we're watching like 4 different things, right? And so it's like sometimes it's like you as a viewer, you might be watching that thing that happened, but like there's no like so much so 100 Thieves was playing jobless. 100 Thieves rolled them, but it was on their 8-minute of the battle. Like it was like 8-minute battle, and the point back capped because they pushed forward and they rolled the team. And the point ended up back capping 0.2 on Central Park, Midtown, right, Vikki? But we didn't even.
Midtown or?
It was Midtown. It was inside of Midtown, and I even messaged both of them. I was like, was there a back cap
the subway.
Yeah, I watched back. There was. It was insane, but we missed it.
Well, what was annoying was that people were saying it was a C9, but it wasn't a C9. They didn't just forget about the point like that where they
They
all
pushed
got
forward.
off like in an overtime. Yeah, it pushed forward and they just didn't look at the HUD.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Okay, so that's what's happening. Okay.
So I guess with this, we'll go in and when I say close, I'll say let's look to week 2 real quick, and we'll have a good little last wrap up here. Looking at week 2, a couple things. So we're going to see the same comps. We're going to see anything changed up. Do you guys expect anything? And then what are the matchups? I'm going to pull up the bracket here for the viewers and you guys to see what matchups are we most excited for, and then maybe give me one upset. And we can kind of go, group by group if that works for you guys. Here is a way overblown image of stage B. Yeah, wait, let's start stage B. We'll go Vikki, Dog, Shibb. Point out something on this that you want to talk about looking towards week 2. Actually, let's go Shibb first, then up Dog, then to Vikki. Shibb, what do you see here on Group B?
Okay, are we trying to find right now upsets or things that we're excited for?
Let's go things you're excited for.
I think that Techie and Citadel Gaming is actually going to be a really good game. I think the lower bracket for me is what I'm most excited to watch right now, to be honest, because I think that similar with Shroud X and Nightmare stepped up. They looked so much better. Hydron looked like a champion switching over into the Vanguard role. And I think Shroud X has always been great, but they struggle a little bit just progressing. I don't know, man. They just can't progress to deep into the tournaments. So I think both of those games are going to be very close.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, I'm pretty pumped for Sentinel's Nemesis, because I think the tough part is that Group A, because everybody's talking about how good it is. It is kind of like the group of death almost, just because there's so many good teams, and a lot of good teams we didn't realize that were good as well. That now over here people are forgetting about Sentinels being pretty solid, and especially 2-0ing Citadel too, because Citadel's not a bad team per se too. So Sentinel's still pretty good. I've heard a lot of good things about Nemesis, but the fact they dropped the map is kind of insane. So I don't know. I want to see how Sentinels versus Nemesis plays out. That's probably the thing I'm looking forward to. Plus, I just like watching Rye, so I don't know. I like that team.
Vic?
Yeah.
All right, so this is gonna go crazy. So I'm gonna call out this bracket right now. Everyone's gonna have to come back here and then call me crazy because maybe I was wrong or maybe I'm a prophet. But I think Shroud X is gonna win, and then Citadel is gonna try to play SDX in that next fight. So I think Citadel's moving on. SDX is going to play against Citadel.
You're about to say what I was about to say. Say it. Finish it.
Shroud X is going to beat them. Yep. Shroud X is going to beat Citadel. And then they're going to have to face off against Nemesis in the lower bracket finals. And then Nemesis is going to have to try to play Sentinels in the run back in the grand finals.
Who wins though? I need to hear it so we can hit the full prophecy. Who wins?
Sentinels wins.
No, out of the lower bracket. Out of the lower bracket. Who beats
out of
Nemesis?
the lower bracket? No, I think Nemesis wins the lower bracket.
Okay. So that was almost 1-for-1 what I was going to say. I think we're going to get the exact the reunion of Shroud X and Nemesis. I think we're going to get in the lower bracket finals, but I think Shroud, hear me out. I know Shroud X, they're known for people, they can't finish the job. I watched that team out. They got dominated, still almost won against a triple res comp, okay? And then they messed around with that a bit. I think I'm going to go Shroud. I think I'm going to go Shroud X versus Sentinels. I think they get the better Nemesis on the second time around. I don't think Nemesis is going to be Sentinels though. I don't see it happening. They would have to have a big fall. Sentinels would have to. The only case I could make on that is that Sentinels haven't had true you know what I mean. Nemesis and Shroud X, they're warmed up. They played some good team. They played well together. Sentinels, they did Citadel and they did Alani Wind, and Nemesis could be a lot for them to handle.
I agree. I think it's going to be literally the hardest team for them to deal with in this entire bracket, but I don't see a world where Citadel or Shroud X give Sentinels a problem.
All right, throwing it back. Let's go back in reverse order here. I'm gonna throw it back to Dog. Dog, hit me with what you see from Group A here.
I want to see Jobless versus FlyQuest, to be honest, and all these matches in the lower bracket kind of matter a lot just because of the fact that it is win or you're out of the tournament, right? So if you get top 4 here, that's because it is top 4, right? So if they win this, you're good, you're qualified. So yeah, if FlyQuest win, huge, because I think a lot of people are doubting them a little bit, considering how things have gone. Losing a map to Solaris, losing to Ego Death in the top upper bracket, and then Jobless obviously beat out Shikigami, but they got smoked by 100 Thieves, and I mean, I think it probably will happen again, but there's a little bit of controversy on Jobless, and I won't get into it here. So I don't know. I'm just curious to see how FlyQuest does versus them.
We gotta ask him because Shibb, me, and Vikki, we've already answered this. 100 Thieves Envy. Who is it?
Ooh, 100 Thieves Envy. I think 100 Thieves looks pretty damn good right now. I mean, obviously their matchups have been a little bit easier, I suppose. I mean, LG and LG literally just disbanded today, so
yeah, I saw that.
No, I still think 100 Thieves looks pretty damn good, though. I think they might win the whole thing, even in the playoffs, unless something drastically changes. I have a lot of faith in 100 Thieves.
I'm gonna go with. I think it's a rematch of Fly and Ego Death, and I think. I still think Ego Death takes this, dude. I think Ego Death. Here's the thing, though. I think Fly has a much better chance to beat Envy or 100 Thieves over any of those teams.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just
I think Ego Death beats FlyQuest, bro.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I feel like I guess that is
I
what's
can get behind that.
It's just a matter of, do you think they learned or not? Like, that's pretty much it.
That's what I said to them is like, I need to see Ego Death have one more of those dive successes, and then I'll trust them as a team. But for now, I don't think that they're great because I think teams know their shtick now.
Like they're like cheesy comp. Another question is like, how you guys would know this way better than me? How are the vibes on FlyQuest? Like you said that they're very emotional driven players. Like, are the mentals boomed? Like, are the stocks down?
Go to Twitter. Twitter will answer that question really quickly for you. Spark Chief is in shambles, last I saw. And then we have a sub out right now, so we don't know if Light comes back. We don't know what's going on there. We got I don't even know. There's stuff going on with Cooper. Bro, there's so much with that team. They're like they're such an enigma of a team because of like how they play the game, but also their team. And then like they lost Gasca, they have a new guy. Like there's just so much going on with that team that we'll see, man. I think who's their other support who I think doesn't get enough credit, who does good? Is it
Zelos?
Zelos. I think Zelos is pretty good.
Yeah.
And Energy. Is it Energy on that team too?
Yeah,
Energy's great.
Hit scan guy, yeah.
Energy's great when he's playing on. He's young, dude. He's 15, 16. 16-year-old.
Really? I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I think the tough part is his best hero is like Bucky, and it's kind of out of meta right now. He's good. He's great Hella too. So it's like the tough part is like he's a hit scan guy, and they're not you can't play them as often.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. That's honestly 100 Thieves. Who's gonna match Delina on Hella? Because think about it. Speeder, if he goes Torch, I think
Cal.
Cal would have to go Hella because I think Delina could actually handle Speeder potentially in that matchup there.
Cal's the best Hella in my opinion.
Cal's the best over Delina. Yeah, Cal's that whole team. I think Dogman said this. Like if you were to like draft the team out of all these teams, it would almost just end up as Envy. Like it'd be so close. Like, I think there's some interchangeables there. Next week, we're actually, guys, going to be talking about the best in each slot. So we're going to do probably top 5 players, duelists, Vanguard, and strategists. But guys, in between there, we had an interview with Aramori. You guys aren't gonna these lovely people weren't there for. But we hopefully you guys enjoyed the format, guys. I thank you guys for joining me on this. I think this was a lot of fun. I was telling Shibb like this is gonna be way more than just Ignite, but this is such a good way to kick it off, and I want to keep this going. Dog, I know you were talking about like just having like it's so cool to like bring this all together and build the storyline up, and hopefully viewers enjoyed. But hopefully you guys had fun too.
Oh
absolutely,
yeah,
man. This
Thank
is
you
so
so much
fun
for having us.
This is awesome.
Thanks for Coz, man. Putting it together, it's sick.
Yeah, for sure, guys. All right,
awesome.
well, look out next week. This is coming out Wednesday. It'll probably come up a little bit earlier next week, and say what's up to all of them. You can check out Vikki. Vikki, where do they find you? Like Twitter? Where are they gonna find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Twitch. It's gonna be at VikkiKitty, spelled Vikki the same exact way as you guys could see right over here as I disappear into the abyss right here. And then Twitter, VikkiKitty, VikkiKitty, just for all my unauthorized opinions and looking at the way that I see myself in ranked, and Twitch as well, VikkiKitty.
Awesome. Yeah, go check that out. Dogman is pretty much he's like the Truman Show, but on Twitch when it comes to esports. He's on all 24/7, all day, every day, casting over incredible games. Is it just Dogman, right? Is it what's your handle?
It's the ad is Dogman Dustin with 2 T's in the name, so it's kind of unfortunate that my parents named me that, but that's part of it. It's part of it. That's for shindig. So yeah,
that's for subject number 3. Next week we'll break down Dogman and his names. So go check him out on Twitch. He's on Twitter as well. And I'll put all these in the description. And then Shibb, if you are a TikToker, if you're a talker of the tick, Shibb is the man to go to for that, buddy. Where can they find you?
IRunShibb on everything. Big Instagram, TikTok guy, and I stream on Twitch almost every day.
Oh man, well you guys might eventually see this dream team come together in person. Who knows? Maybe, we don't know. We do, we may not. I don't know. But either way, guys, thanks for checking out. We'll see you guys on the next one.